Screen record going. Welcome, welcome. We are kicking things off here in just a minute. Just want this to fill up a little bit more. Please share the show. Like it if you haven't liked it already. Just smash the hell out of your screen, please, so we can get this thing going. The more people we get into this thing, the more fun we'll have, I'm sure. So, today we are going to be covering conspiracies, flat earth, and whatever else you guys want to talk about. We're going to leave it up to guest choices today, which is going to be pretty cool. We've been hammering the hell out of flat earth, so I figured that there may be some things some other things that people want to talk about. But if not, that's cool too. We can just rock out the flat earth, geocentrism all the way. We're all the way up to 9. We're getting there. User 92, probably a troll. Hasn't made a actual account yet. Welcome, welcome. Share the show. Smash the screen. We're already at 1,000 likes. Man, we are freaking cooking. I know you guys are out there doing it. There's probably Mad Bison out there just freaking double tapping the shit out of the screen. We appreciate the hell out of that. I'm doing that right now also. TikTok. Getting too many likes. Oh, it's backed out my whole screen. Okay, here we go. Sick. Awesome, we're all the way up to 15. We'll probably jump to 200 here in a bit because I named it. I named it Flat Earth. So, birds ain't real. That's always a fun one to talk about. They actually do have a secret bird program, bird camera program, but I won't say that all the birds are fake. I think there is some real ones out there, maybe a few. Super duper fun. Yeah, I wonder who will get in the box today. We kind of got cut off early yesterday because my phone died. So, what is this? This is a live stream. We're talking about conspiracies. We're talking about flat Earth. We're talking about the fake birds. We're talking about the Illuminati. We're talking about the secret elite that want to run everything, and sexualize our children, and do all kinds of crazy stuff that we don't agree with. I like your lives, man. Thanks, man. Much love. Okay, I've actually been watching your videos quite a bit too, man. I love them. I like your editing skills. A lot of them have me laughing with it. I love it. So, all right, welcome, welcome. We're all the way up to 47, man. We are getting things cooking. Today is going to be guest choice. We're doing flat Earth and we're doing other conspiracies. So whatever you guys want to talk about, leave it in the comments. Jump in the box. We'll have a discussion about it. Spirits and ghosts, that's always a fun one. You know, some people don't like to talk about stuff like that because it's like, how can you confirm, just people's stories? And, I don't even like to go that far with it, because the thing is that I think everybody out there just about has some sort of weird paranormal story that they can definitely share. Ain't you Nathaniel B? Nope, not. It's not my name. So, Jesus is king. Everybody's entitled to believe what they believe, that's for sure. I actually don't subscribe to any particular religion, but that doesn't mean that I have any hate for any of y'all. I absolutely love everybody having their differences of opinion, making things really, really awesome to really dynamic to navigate. So, what is your own opinion? Let me see here. Of the ghosts, I think they're real. So I'll go ahead and share this story. I actually have several ghost stories. But I don't really like to share them too much because people just think that you're crazy, you're trying to get clout or anything. But belief is the enemy of knowing. Nice. Well, I mean, you can't be wrong about that. But it doesn't mean that we can't speculate about stuff. So, I wonder what you were saying that in reference to, though. I definitely agree. I've actually seen apparition of a girl wearing like a old white nightgown in one of my old houses, which I thought was pretty weird, and I didn't tell anybody about it. Then my mom ended up, telling me that she saw it in the garage when she was smoking a cigarette on a rainy day, and I was like, wow, that's crazy. But yeah, as far as like a scientific explanation for it, I really don't have one. What made you believe that the Earth was flat? From your own experience because of science. So, There are actually lots of things that have been done to show that the Earth is not curving. For example, long distance photography. I've actually started to look more into the infrared, which is pretty cool. We're seeing like upwards of 500 miles with infrared cameras, which seems absolutely impossible on the spinny space ball. So that's a really good evidence to start with. Can you tell my man's been all across it? Nice. I appreciate that. Yeah, I went down to Antarctica just a little bit, just like 2 weeks ago. So you guys can check that out. Earth was flat until they buried my mom. That's sad. It's a very sad thing to say. I feel for you. I think this last 2 years, especially, was hard for a lot of people. You know, with all the crazy things that were going on. So, yeah, if anybody wants to jump in the box and see if we can get some good conversation going, get some difference of opinions. You know, I'm sure that everybody in here was just dying to know what I think about stuff, and that's cool. But I'd like to know what you guys think as well. So yeah, today's thing, we're gonna not be feeding the trolls today. So if you do say anything stupid in the comments, we're probably just gonna ignore you. And if you spam it, we're probably just gonna get rid of you. So, but yeah, definitely share your opinions, get the things going. Spirits are bad, or I mean, who knows? I'm not even gonna try to subscribe motive to disembodied entities, whatever you want to call them. Why does it look round from space? Why did the guy who made the blue marble picture say that it was Photoshop and that it had to be? So, yeah, I don't think we have any real pictures of Earth from space, at least not without a super exaggerated fisheye lens. But, you know, feel free to go ahead and correct me on that if you think I'm wrong. Just so you know, we live on a flat Earth under a dome. I think you misspelled it. It said dumb. Told someone who knows the Earth is round. Uh, you know, I would say someone who thinks that the Earth is round isn't necessarily a troll. So, like I said, we welcome different opinions. You know, we're here to reach across the aisle. We don't hate, but we do like to speak the truth. So, nice. Tucker Swanson. That's not a trolly name. It could also be like, you know, circle. It doesn't have to be a spear. You may join. Sorry, I didn't even see you there. Not to... I can't even pronounce. Actually, not a liberal at all. So, nice try, though. Hey, well...
So do you believe the Earth is flat?
Yep.
What makes you think that?
I must get this at least once every single day. Right around 200 viewers, somebody will jump in. But that's awesome. I think the lack of curvature that we attempted to measure is a good place to start. Also, the lack of evidence of moving, some of the mismatches and inconsistencies with Coriolis effect. But yeah,
Can I ask you a quick question? Have you ever been out to sea?
yeah. I live out.
So you've been
I
on a
live out in
boat out to
Florida.
sea.
Just to kind of give you some background, I live out in Florida. I've been deep sea fishing, go mahi mahi fishing. You know, probably at least every couple years, once every couple years. So I mean, I
Sweet. So you've seen the curve.
yeah, no, I haven't actually.
I've
Wow,
sailed.
weird.
I've circumnavigated the globe. So uh, I
Yeah,
started
you
in
can.
Florida and ended in Florida.
Yeah, you can circumnavigate a dinner plate too. You're just going in a circle over the top. East and west
But
make
the math
circles
doesn't
over
work
the.
out.
It
That
actually
doesn't
does. If
work
you go
out like
on,
that for the
yeah, I
math.
don't want to. I have a huge argument with you or anything like that. But if you go on Google Earth, it's actually very easy to prove that east and west on both models are just circles. If you attempt to go east or west, you're going to have to
Well, yeah, it's a
continuously.
circle all the way around.
No, you're going to have to continuously. You understand? In order to go due east or due west, you're going to have to correct north, and that's even on the globe. So if you don't believe
Not
me,
at the
go to Google
54th
Earth.
parallel.
Don't take my
I've
word
also
for
been
it,
to Antarctica.
by all means. Um, yeah, which part of Antarctica
Well,
did you
so
go to?
the I went to Point Cape, and then I went all the way to the South Pole to deliver supplies, and then went back to Point Cape and got on my sailboat and went back to South America.
Sure, but you didn't go all the way through.
Huh?
Have you ever went like all the way
What do you
through?
mean?
You made it to, okay, so you went to the South Pole to drop off some supplies. Did you go turn around and go back the way you came, or did you just keep going straight?
Well, I mean, on multiple occasions, we can't get to the northernmost point, so we go around the
That's
we
interesting.
yeah we go around to get to the South
Yeah,
Pole
I'm
because
not
there's a
even going
bunch
to
of
sit here and
geographical
say that
features in
there's
the way.
not, people that go there, because people do go
But I
there.
mean, like,
There's
yeah,
nobody
I
that
mean,
goes all the way through it. So we would like to see
well,
somebody
I
just
didn't
like
see an ice wall
circumnavigate it.
while I was there. And I've been across the entire Arctic Circle. In fact, I flew a Cessna from Alaska to uh to Moscow. So, and I went directly over the top of the Arctic Circle. It only took like
No, you can do the
nine
Arctic Circle.
nine hours.
That's not a problem on the flat Earth. It's the Antarctic Circle that you have to go through to debunk us, and it doesn't seem like anybody does that.
Well, but here's the thing. It only took me like 16 hours to sail around Antarctica though, because I've been around the whole thing. You have to go around it to get to Australia from South America, which I did.
Sure.
So I've been around the entire continent,
What degree parallel were you sailing at?
between 50 and 68. So
Okay.
within the eyesight of the coast,
Okay. And what was your speed?
14 knots,
Okay, so you were only going 14 knots, and how long did it take you to do?
uh, about 22 hours total.
22 hours total at 14 knots. I mean, just looking at the Antarctic circumnavigation race, I mean, they're doing that. I know they have a little bit more distance onto that, but they're doing it in like 71 days. So I'm wondering how you're getting 22 hours. I'll actually.
Well, because I didn't go around the entire thing, just a third of it.
So you didn't.
So,
So you didn't circumnavigate it then. You didn't circumnavigate the whole thing.
well, I mean, on my return trip, I went around the big part.
So
There's a big
listen,
part and a little part.
essentially,
See,
you
here's the
can.
thing, though. There's an ocean all the way around it. It's pretty easy to go all the way
Yeah,
around
there's
it.
an ocean all the
My
way.
question,
So there's an ocean touching all the
wait,
coast of
so
Antarctica in the flat
if
Earth model too,
if that's the case, though, if that's the case, though,
for sure.
why doesn't it take a whole bunch of time to get from South America to Australia? What why doesn't it take a bunch of time to get there on an airplane then?
I
Shouldn't
mean,
that
I
be
can
like
come
the
up.
furthest distance?
I can come up with tons of things. Jet streams for starters. I would say there's a problem with the tracking because we have attempted to track flights over the Southern Ocean several times, and it always cuts out over the middle. So yeah, there's
It
some
never
things
cuts out over the middle.
that are
I've
asserted
crossed the
that
Pacific.
yeah, I don't
So
know how
why
you
do
would
you
know how
deny
fast you're
somebody
going in the
who's
plane
actually
either.
done it when you haven't? Why do you deny somebody who's actually done it when you haven't? Is my question.
I'm saying that what you've done is not proof of what you think it is. It's a breadcrumb. You believe it's
Oh,
proof. I believe that you
oh,
believe it's a proof, but we don't agree with
so
you.
you're saying that my experience that I've actually done is less valid than your YouTube searches.
Well, I think for starters that you may be telling a little bit of fibs with your story. So we are going to go ahead and
Why would I
yeah,
fib?
because you hate flat earthers and you might be a troll.
I don't hate flat earthers. I think you're confused, but I don't hate you. I mean, maritime navigation can't work on a flat earth. You realize that, right?
Yeah, I've actually heard the opposite. I've heard that it only works on the flat Earth, but again,
No, that's just
unlike
intentional misinformation. Like my AIS system has to have triangulation, which means the triangulation
triangulation
is
does
for a
not.
globe.
No, the triangulation works over a flat plane as well. It doesn't prove a globe.
No, it works over a globe.
It works over.
Triangulation has to be on a globe.
All right,
Otherwise, it doesn't
so
work that way. Not
you
with
That's
an
got one more chance to
AIS.
incorrect.
make a. You got one more chance
Not
to make
with
an
an
honest
AIS,
claim
it
because if
doesn't.
you're trying to say that
That mar,
triangulation doesn't work over a flat plane,
maritime
I'm going to have to assume that you're a troll and kick you.
maritime.
Why would you say that? So because I disagree with your blatantly false statements, I'm a troll?
If you
Like,
say
why
that
are you spreading
triangulation doesn't work
misinformation to
over a
the
flat
people?
plane, you're just an idiot.
I said with my AIS, it doesn't. Do you know what an AIS is? It's the navigation system that's used on boats. You should know that. You've been deep sea fishing.
You,
I'm just confused on how that means it's a
I'm
sphere. It's
ex
not.
United States Navy, and maritime actually works on the flat Earth, not on the globe.
Thank you.
Were you a
Absolutely not.
navigator in the Navy?
Absolutely not.
What was your
Absolutely
MOS in
not.
the Navy?
I was actually a submarine. I was on submarines.
What was your MOS? What was your MOS?
I actually drove submarines.
What was
So
your MOS? What was your
What was
MOS?
your
I
MOS?
was actually a bosun's mate, and so I drove the
What was your
submarine when we
MOS?
were
Tell me
under.
what your
I just
MOS
told you,
was.
I was a
No,
bosun's
you
mate.
didn't. I want to know what your MOS was. Like
I
my
just
MOS was
told you.
0321 Recon. What was your
Okay, so
MOS?
you wasn't
You don't
driving
know what your
submarines.
MOS
You
was
wasn't
when
on
you were in the
submarine.
military?
I just told
He's
you I was
bogus.
a bosun's
Bogus.
mate. Petty
Why
officer, third
can't you
class,
answer
bosun's mate.
MOS?
Petty
Why
officer,
can't you answer
third
MOS?
class, bosun's mate.
That's not no. You're lying.
What
Why
branch
are
was
you
you in?
lying to me? That is not okay.
I was in the military. Why would I have to lie to you? Who are you for me to lie to? First and foremost, who are you? And you were recon. You were nowhere on a boat, on a sub, and you're not in the Navy. So how are you arguing me?
So were you 255 Nancy or were you 177 Alpha?
I was on a USSBN nuclear trident submarine, USS
And
Kentucky.
was your
Gold team.
MOS 11
I
was your
just
MOS
told you
114 Delta?
I just told you what it
He
was.
doesn't know. He doesn't know.
He's making
All
some
right.
shit up. You
All
making
right.
that up. You're
Yeah,
not in the
absolutely.
Navy. You weren't in the Navy. What are you in the Army or something? What
All
branch?
right,
What branch
whatever,
of
dude.
what branch of
Whatever. You
service
can't
did
even
you?
give me
What branch
MOS.
of service? I just told you exactly what I was.
No, you
I was
told me
on a
your rank.
USS. Listen, I was on a USS BN nuclear ballistic trident submarine. I was a petty officer, third class, bosun's
Stone
mate.
bearer.
So
That's
what
it.
was your
So
job?
my job was when we were underwater, I drove the submarine. When we were on top of the water cruising, I was at the top with the binoculars, with the captain, looking out for trouble. When we docked, I repaired the sub, scraped off barnacles, did security. That was my job. I
Don't
was a
worry, I'm
bosun's
looking up
mate.
your MOS for you right now.
You can, matter of fact, look up my sub.
You were an 1175 according to the MOS list for the Department of the Navy. So you should
Okay,
use that in
well,
the future when
of
you're
course,
saying
of
that.
course.
So make sure
I
you
really,
remember that
it really,
1175. Make sure you
that
remember it
doesn't
so you
matter.
can use it in the
Listen,
future.
that part doesn't matter to me.
Of course
That
it
part
does.
doesn't matter to me. No, it really doesn't, because
It does.
anybody
It
that was in
does.
any
Yeah, I bet.
military will know exactly what I'm talking
I
about.
bet.
You know what I mean? I don't have to get paperwork classified for someone that ain't never been in the
No, it's
military,
just a
never been in the
basic
Navy.
way to vet somebody who's lying, is what it is.
Okay, well,
It's the most
I've been
basic way.
vetted. I've been vetted, and I'm not lying. So that's it.
Right.
Yeah.
Just
I
like
had to give
the
you the
whole
number.
job,
You couldn't give it to me.
the whole job of submarines is to
Right.
lay underwater telecommunication cables. The same thing that you
Okay,
think of
cool.
satellites. There's no
No,
satellites. It's
why would
all
I think
underwater
that
telecommunication cables.
telecommunications were via satellite? Satellites have an
No,
extremely
no,
low
no, no.
latency and they don't
What
work
I
that
said
great for
was
that.
what I
Why would
you're
anybody
waiting for
think
an
that?
argument.
It's all fiber optics.
What I
It's
stated
literally all
was
The
fiber
Navy
optics.
doesn't say MOS.
exactly. Thank you. Thank you.
No,
You're in
What do
the
you mean?
you're in the
please.
Army or the Marines or something.
I
Listen,
wasn't
For
in the
I'm
Marines.
MOS.
in the Army, Marines. I was prior Navy. I worked on Doomsday plane, the E-6B Mercury. There's a
Thank you, brother.
disconnect
And we don't use
between you two.
MOS.
Real quick, because I've always
So
heard
then why
Navy
couldn't you
people
say
refer to
that
their
at
MOS
first?
for their
Because this
job.
guy mentioned it.
Yeah. Bravo
It's the first
Zulu,
time I've ever
shipmate.
heard somebody.
Bravo Zulu, shipmate.
Oh, sorry. You use NEC systems instead of MOSs. It's still a number. I used
Who?
MOS when I was in, and I wasn't Navy. I was Department of the Navy, but I wasn't Navy. So I
Ah.
will give you that. But what was your NES number?
I
Yeah,
don't
Marine Corps
do
Department of the Navy, not.
He don't remember. He
dude,
don't remember.
listen. I don't remember that. It was never important to anyone in the Navy. It's only
What?
important to
What?
people who's trying to
What?
use a technicality to prove
What?
that you're lying, but when you're not.
Nah, man.
Bro, it's just a job. It's just a job title.
I gave you my job title. I didn't have the classification number on hand for you, if that's what you're
Like
asking me.
Well, listen. I flew out in space and I seen the globe. Do you believe me?
I do not.
I know
Well,
that's
see?
absolutely false.
You see what I'm saying? Why should we believe you?
I do not
Why should
believe that you
you don't
flew
have
out to
to.
space. I believe it's a
Yes.
globe.
Like,
I,
how
I,
about we
I,
all knock all this off, right? And then we all just, You get a flat earther and a glober and go out there and meet together and do an experiment like they did in that Behind the
How
Curvature, and there's nobody being
there's
paid, and do that in real life in front of all your
the
fans.
military already did that. It's called Operation High Jump. It's called
Well,
So
Operation
but here's
Fishbowl.
my thing. What
Operation
are you guys
Fishbowl. Hold on.
actually afraid
Operation
of that makes you
Fishbowl.
deflect
Operation
and
High
think
Jump.
it's a flat Earth? What are you guys
What you
actually
say?
afraid of?
they're afraid of
What so
space, man. They're afraid of
so
like
you're
Well,
afraid you're
everything.
afraid of the expanse is what it seems like. You
That's
can't
what it is.
accept
no,
the
They want
no.
to be
fact that
You're
like
enclosed.
trying to
They want to be
create an
enclosed in a
expanse.
nah,
membrane.
dude, I have been around the entire planet on a
There has
boat.
been
All right.
no
Like
proof
it's one of
of
my
any
crowning
You've been
picture.
achievements in
around
my
the whole
life is
planet.
There, listen,
circumnavigating.
bro. There's no picture of Earth. Every picture of Earth you've ever seen has been a CGI
There is a
composite.
live
No,
feed
there is
right
not.
now.
There is not.
Bro,
There
who
is
had
not.
CGI in
The
the
live
80s? Who had
dude,
CGI in
the
the
That's what's
80s?
going
military
on,
has some
Nautical.
CGI.
Oh,
The
they had
military
CGI
has
in the
CGI.
80s.
Yes, they
In the
had.
80s?
Yes.
They made
I
In
want
the
to
Yes.
ask one
70s?
question.
Listen. Everything that we use
But then
today
so
is 50
what
years
about like
old to the
fake moon
military.
landing?
Listen, it's fake. Stanley
It's
Kubrick
fake.
even said it's fake. Buzz Aldrin said he
So
never
you're
went.
All
saying
right, hey,
So
you're saying
listen.
that's fake,
No, you
right?
Y'all
didn't.
gonna have
So
No,
to
you
if
talk more
that's
didn't.
fake,
civilly, or else I'm gonna have to kick y'all.
but did
Because
they have
talking over each other is
CGI
not
back
gonna work.
then? Because
yes.
oh
CGI was created in the military. Yes.
yeah, but what year?
The military.
In
See one thing.
1966?
Let me plug. Hold on. Listen. Yes, in 1966. Listen, the military. Everything we use to today has been used for 50 years or more in the military. They don't even give us any. They don't give civilians anything unless it's been 50
Bruh.
Okay,
years
how do
dead.
you explain meteors hitting
Bruh.
Earth?
How do we explain what?
I think you
Meteors,
underestimate the power
meteors.
of capitalism.
I think you underestimate the power of the military.
How do
Why
you how do
do
No,
you
I
explain
water
don't.
meteors?
molecules form circles in gravity?
Well,
All
if you
right.
know anything, it's not gravity. Gravity isn't real. It's all density
Okay,
and
so
buoyancy.
Nautical.
People
Why
are like,
does
We
this
it
got
guy's
Mr.
form
from
a
Bedazzled
circle?
in the
1930.
chat,
okay.
Would you like
or
me to
in
send
the
it to you?
guest
Gravity's not
box.
real, right?
Say
Hold on
again.
one second.
We
One
got
second,
somebody in
guys.
the guest
If
box,
gravity's
Mr.
not
Bedazzled.
real,
So if somebody wants to drop so he can get in, Nautical, you were the
What'd you
first
say,
one in.
host?
So if you want to drop, you can
If
get
you
back
want to make
in.
me leave, you can make me leave. I don't mind, but I'm enjoying the hell out of this.
I'm just trying
listen.
to keep
If,
things moving along. So,
Yeah, and I'm your
okay,
opposition, so
but Mr.
like
Bedazzled,
you
I
if
think,
should
is
keep me in.
opposition as well. That's why.
Oh,
if
he's
gravity's
opposition
not
as well?
real,
Yeah, I'll hop out if
hold
they're
on one
opposition as well.
second.
Let me see
Have a
it.
good
Can I
one,
ask
Let
bud.
me
you a
see if
question?
you can always hop back in. So
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay. If gravity's not real, right?
Okay.
What?
You know,
Okay.
gravity is a theory, right? It's not
Yes.
a law.
I'm asking you a question though. If gravity
How's it going?
is not real, which I know is a theory, what if you hold the 10-pound weight out?
Uh huh.
What's pulling that weight down? How long can you hold it out for? Can you
Density.
hold it out for 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30
Density.
minutes?
Density.
What's pulling it down?
Density.
But you're holding it. Why isn't it going left? Why isn't it going right? Why isn't it going up?
Because there's density. See, all right. The force on density controls left and right. Right. Density is if it's lighter than air, it floats. If it's heavier than air, it basically sinks. You know what I'm saying? We are breathing the second state of water,
So what
right?
happens
We
in the
got
vacuum
solid,
then?
liquid, and gas, right? We got solid, liquid, and gas,
What happens when there's
right?
no air?
You
Question.
there when there's no air. What do you mean? It's a vacuum.
In a
If it's a
vacuum, what
vacuum, listen.
happens to the
If
weight?
it's a hold on, I'm
Does the
explaining
weight
it to you.
float?
If there's a vacuum, then there's no density force applied to the object, which makes a 10-pound weight drop as fast as a 1-pound feather.
Yes,
Right.
but if you also spin a wheel, it
Right.
creates its own gravity in a sense.
There's no such thing as gravity.
What?
I have a question. This is B Dazzle speaking.
Go ahead,
Go
Um,
ahead.
Bedazzle.
so helium is lighter than air, right?
Yes.
So
Correct.
helium is going to float. If you remove air, what's going to happen to a helium balloon?
If you remove air,
Yeah. So if you have
What's going to replace
if
the
you re,
air?
if you remove the medium, which the density is based off of, then basically it would float. It would just hover
That's not what happens.
because it
So,
doesn't have because it doesn't have any other force enacting on it or opposite to it.
well, that's not
You
what
get what I'm
happens.
saying?
Yeah, so
That's not what
that's not what
happens.
happens.
So
You
so
can
somebody somebody that put a helium balloon in a vacuum.
yes.
So did it implode?
Before
It crushed in on itself.
before the balloon exploded, it fell.
Right. That's what I'm saying. It had no opposite force enacting against it. Air, oxygen is a force.
So why
Basically,
didn't it go
so
left
so
or
so
right? Why did it fall?
because force because that's your manipulation of the object.
It's not a
So you
manipulation,
so
brother.
so
It's like in front of your face.
originally you said it would just float there and it doesn't.
No,
So
no,
now
it would listen, but look, I said it would float. And then when you said it was in a vacuum, see, you said when there's no air, you didn't say no vacuum. That's why I explicitly said, is it in a vacuum? Because if it's in a vacuum, it's gonna hover, then it's gonna fall, and then it's gonna explode because it's gonna
No,
it's gonna implode on itself.
Who's
just
okay.
talking right
follow
now?
gravity,
So
man.
here is another example. And I'm just trying to
Go ahead, no
show.
problem.
So now, if you have a ball that's buoyant and it floats on water like a ping pong ball, right?
Okay.
Now, if you go into what's called the parabolic flight, which kind of replicates zero gravity, on
Okay.
on that decline in free fall, if you push the ball into the middle of the water, it's going to remain into the middle of the water. It's not going to float,
How would it
and
how
that's
would it do
because
that? And it has oxygen in the inside. That goes totally against density and buoyancy, because that's the
no,
basis of how.
it
Hold on, wait. That's the basis of how a submarine stays underwater. See, what you do is when they want to sink, they fill all of the air chambers with water, which and then they put just enough water in the sub so it equals out with the density and the pressure of the water around it, which makes it still. Right? That's the secret to submarines. It's density and buoyancy. So when
so
you
buoyancy.
equal the water pressure, when you equal the environment pressure, it can be air or it can be water. When you
So
equal the environment pressure around it, it stays right where it is. When you want to come up to the top, you push all of the water out, which displaces, which makes the submarine lighter than the water that it's in, and it rises to the top and floats. That's the
buoyancy
that's
buoyancy if you're trying to calculate buoyancy, the formula of buoyancy includes gravity. So when you remove gravity from a
it
What
actually
buoyant
is the
doesn't.
what is the formula for buoyancy?
It actually doesn't.
What
It actually doesn't
let me pull it
hold on,
up.
include
I would like the person who just made
gravity.
that claim to tell me the formula for
Right.
buoyancy.
Let me pull it up.
So you don't even know.
So
Cause,
not
cause if
offhand.
I, cause I think it's buoyancy. I think it's buoyancy times weight times force.
As buoyancy,
For
force,
and
and
if you're
weight are
saying that
directly
force, if you're saying
correlated with
force,
gravity.
if you're
Okay,
saying
it's
force is gravity, that's
So
incorrect.
while
listen. It's buoyancy, force,
while I'm
fluid
pulling the
density,
formula up, the point is
Right.
acceleration due
Then
to
flow.
I
is
want to
gravity,
that
Okay.
see
Yeah.
that
zero
G.
Buoyancy
gravity
I
for
want to see that
buoyancy
acceleration
force and
downward
density.
at
is actually
9.8
a
centimeters a
factor.
second. I want to see that in the equation.
you want to see what?
You want to see
I
what?
want to see that Newtonian gravity, the 9.8, which is the only gravity you can prove. I want to see that in the buoyancy
You can't
equation.
even prove Newtonian gravity.
Okay,
Gravity has
here.
never
I'll
been
tell you what.
proven.
Look. 1,000 kilograms, right, per meter to the third power, right,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
times 1 liter times 9.81 meters per equals 9.81 n.
Okay,
That's what it means, right?
Okay,
is,
but what are you
is my
saying
screen
though?
visible?
What he
No.
just asked.
Let me wipe my camera. So here, if you look
Force.
at this G right here, this is the formula for buoyancy. Formula
You froze, Mr. Bedazzle.
You timed out. You
Buoyant
froze.
force right here.
You
Is my camera?
you no, you frozen. All
Okay.
right.
These are all of the variables here. Buoyant force, fluid acceleration due to gravity.
But they threw the acceleration in there. There's no acceleration.
Why not?
It is buoyancy, fluid density, and fluid volume.
So
Gravity
okay,
has no a fictitious notion has no weight in the actual equation. Gravity is fictitious. It is something somebody said that it is. It is never. Newton has never proven gravity. NASA has never proven gravity. There's gravity is. It started off as a theory. They changed the word to law, and then once they did that, y'all had cognitive dissonance, and you don't want to hear nothing else.
you
But it's
said
not real.
master. So please explain to me what if I'm sitting on the couch, right?
Mm-hmm.
What is pulling my ass and is indentating it into the couch?
Nothing. Your weight, your
Did I
density,
come?
your weight is
What
pushing
is
you
weight?
down
What is weight then?
heavier than the air around you.
If I
Because
actually
if you were
made
lighter than the air, you would float, right?
silk threads,
Can you answer that question? If you were lighter than air, would you float?
I, I, I
If
mean,
if
yes.
you
If air
if you
was
were
present,
lighter than hold on, wait, whoa. If you were lighter than air, would you float? Yes or no?
I guess.
No. Yes
only
or no?
only if
You know
air.
if you lighter than air, you would float in theory, correct? See, y'all never want to answer that question because I'm
So
about to
remove.
knock it out the park.
So when you remove air and you fall, why? When
No,
you
no, no,
remove
no, 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 no,
gravity,
no, no, no,
when
no,
you
no.
remove
Don't
air
change
and you
my question.
fall,
No,
why?
no, 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 no. That's what y'all do. Don't change my question. My question is, if you are lighter than air, would you float?
Yes, you would float. Is the
Okay,
According
now
to
question.
physics,
That is the correct
where
answer.
according
does
to
Now,
graph?
physics,
Hold
yes.
on,
now
wait.
let
No,
me
it was a yes or
Remove.
no. Let me ask the second part.
let me ask
Where
you a
does
question.
no? Let me finish my question first, because you
Go ahead.
trying to
Finish.
interrupt it because you ain't got the answer. If you're
Finish.
lighter than air and you float, where does gravity affect something floating lighter than air? Explain that.
Where does gravity float affecting something light in the air?
Buoyant force.
Is that what you
Hold
said?
on, don't help him. Don't
Your
help him.
buoyant force.
Don't. Thank you. That means there's no
Your
gravity. It's density and buoyancy. Air has buoyant. Air has a
your
buoyancy.
buoyant force includes
Just
your buoyant force
air creates
includes acceleration
buoyancy.
due to gravity. I just showed you the formula.
On the
I just
periodic
showed you the
table,
formula.
listen. On the periodic table, there's elements that's lighter than air, and all of those elements float without any effect, without any resultant effect or response to such so-called gravity.
Correct.
We air is our main
so
force. It's the main contact. It's the main force. So just like water, all right, think like this. When you're underwater, water is heavier than air. That's why it's separated like that, right?
Let
So
me ask you a question. Why do
what?
bubbles form in space with
There's no
water
space. There's no
and
there's no
underwater
space. I can't
There's
they
even I
no
can't
form
even
space.
answer that question
they
because my
also
answer to
Stop,
form
that is
bro.
there's
air
no
bubbles.
space.
Air
Listen,
bubbles.
bro. There's no space.
So you're gonna ask somebody to let you finish ask your question, and but then when they're
You
trying to ask a
asked me the
question, you're
question.
trying to
You
shut
said,
them
"How
up
can the air?"
because
You
of
you
what you're
asked me.
all right,
understanding.
You
listen,
said, "How
you
can
got.
the air bubble make it in
Hey,
space?"
I'm
And I
gonna
said, "I
keep this
can't
thing
answer
moving
that question
along.
because there's no space."
I need y'all to do one question left back and forth, and then I need to cycle some people out. So don't talk over
Okay.
each other.
All right.
Y'all go ahead. You
You
got
want to
one
ask me the
question left.
question again, or you want me to answer it?
I want to hear that question about the
How,
bubbles.
The
I
bubbles.
like to ask a question. How do water molecules attach themselves in space and form a
Okay.
circle?
Okay. Now let me answer your question. That question is not a question because there's no space.
Bro, you are
Everything you've seen
insane.
in space,
Yo, you can
everything
look at
you've
this
seen in
with your
space has
own eyes, my guy.
everything you've seen in space has been the government showing you great movies.
There's a guy on
Bro, you can
TikTok. Hold
Everything
even
is
on,
tell
been
us,
this point's
bro.
everything
important.
is
There's a
You can
guy.
tell us,
CGI.
There's a
bro.
guy right now on TikTok. He's literally in his front yard. He's got water forming spheres, really cool looking. It's floating. He's got potatoes floating. He's able to spin them. He's able to do all kinds of really crazy stuff, and he's in his front yard, and it looks like he's floating in space. So, no, we don't have
What?
hardcore
The,
evidence that the space exists.
the space station is actually underwater.
But
I've seen it
yet
with my
you
own
use the
eyes.
same
I've seen it
technology
with my own eyes.
that's given to
That's
you
a
by the
testing
freaking government
facility.
and the smart people that build this shit,
And
and you
to the
use it,
host,
Say again?
right? I said you use the
to the host,
technology that's given to you by these smart people that have been doing this shit for 2,000 years, and you think every fucking person that's been doing this is a liar. You are bugging out, man.
No, no, I don't. No, I don't think
Yeah,
every
that's a straw
person
man
that does it is a liar. I
compartmentalization.
think the people who actually
Oh,
tell the
what are you gonna
truth get
kick me
killed,
now?
and only the liars are around to tell their story. That's what I think. All
hey, to the host,
whistleblowers
I
and
want to
everybody else that
answer.
spills the beans and does that, they get killed. They die. I mean, they get unalived. You see what I'm saying? So the people who's not getting unalived are sitting there telling whatever story that the person that do the unaliving tell them to tell.
Bro, you can do experiments for yourself, man. Like,
You
what are you
All
talking
right.
about?
okay? Listen, I'm just stating to you that
Have you ever done an
from my
experiment in your
experience,
life?
from my experience
Have you ever taken a
being in the
chemistry
military,
class?
being on submarine. See, because they say the underwater is the real space. You know what I'm saying? We've only explored 5% of it. It's shit down there nobody ever seen before or ever heard of before.
So why
It's
do you?
places
Okay, let me ask you something. Why do you believe that, but you
because
don't
I've been
believe
down there.
space?
Because I've
Okay,
been down there.
but
I'm the
dude, do
astronaut
you
that went
understand?
underwater.
But do you
I'm the
understand what
astronaut that went
space
underwater.
is? Like,
Listen. Okay, so if you were talking to Buzz Aldridge, right, and you were
So
talking to
he's
Buzz
arguing
Aldridge, and he hold
from a
on,
point of authority, and
hold on.
arguing from a point of authority doesn't necessarily mean you're right just because you've been somewhere or done something.
Okay, so that means we can't believe astronauts
Because
because
you
they've been there, and by your definition, we can't believe them.
100%.
so all these people
Phil, I'm going
working
to go
there,
ahead and
why are
cycle
they
you out. You've
working
been in
there?
here for the second longest. No hard feelings. I love you. You're making some good points. But I do got to cycle you out. So, you got any last words?
Give my kid. I got. Give me the keys, man.
I appreciate you, man. We'll cycle back in and once the box clears out.
I just call it cognitive distance. The astronauts even said they never been to space. They never been to the moon.
No, they didn't. No, they didn't.
Yes, you can watch Buzz Aldrin say it out his own mouth.
they never said it.
You didn't
Yeah,
watch
he
the
did
whole
say that.
video, my guy.
It
I,
might be a
it,
gaffe, but he did say that. So,
You
I
want me to
see
play the
You
whole
what
guys never
interview? I can
watched
play
the
I
it.
whole
see what
video.
no, he
That's
did.
the
He
point.
said, I think the reason that we don't go back is because we
I
didn't
got
go
you.
there. And I think
I
that's where
got
it
you, bro.
happened. And it's important to talk about why those things didn't happen. That's what he said word for word. So,
I
anyway,
got you.
Phil Threads,
You
thank you
with
so
me?
much. I'm going to go ahead and get you cycled
I
out.
am.
Let one of these other people, they've been waiting a little bit. So, I appreciate you, though.
Oh man,
Misclick.
just amazing, dude. I wish you,
Nah, you know
I
what?
wish
It's
you
So
it's
guys
did you
it's
see
just
the
funny. I
entire
find.
interview?
Say again.
I just wish
Did
you
you see the
guys took the
entire
time.
interview where
Go ahead, Bedazzle.
so the girl is asking Buzz Aldrin several questions, right? And before the question with the answer that you're talking about, she asked him something about landing on the moon, and he says, "Yes, we successfully landed on the moon." Now, in the context, she asks, "Why didn't you go back?" And he did say we didn't go there because he meant we didn't go back there in regards to the question that she asked. But in the
Exactly.
entire interview, he's talking about going to the moon and being on the moon.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
So
I don't
that's
think
just
it's good
one
evidence either
clip
way.
that
I
you
don't
can
know
take
why
into
we would
context.
listen to those guys. So I don't know who's been. I know Mr. Bedazzle. I recognize your voice. Ritzy, I don't know if you've talked at all. And I don't know which one of you's been talking.
Yeah, I
Or if it's
talked.
both of y'all and y'all
I
got similar
talked.
voices, I just don't freaking know. Devil's Avocado, welcome to the stream. Sorry it took so long. We got one more person in, so Richly, have you been talking, man?
Yeah.
Okay,
I've been
awesome.
talking.
Uh, do you got any questions or something you'd like to ask, or any statements you'd like to make?
Yes. Name one flat Earth experiment you guys did that didn't get debunked.
Well, it depends on your definition of debunked, because some people think things get debunked when they're not necessarily. So, but I think a really good experiment that we did was the Montgomery mirror experiment, where we took a mirror, put it on the edge of the water, and then 14 miles away, we're able to see that flash from, I believe it was 1 foot. Correct me if I'm wrong on that, but it was a pretty low observer height. So I think that's a really
So
good
when I
observation.
go, so when I go to the beach and I see the sun setting and it goes behind the curvature of the Earth, where
So
does
you're
that go?
presupposing. So before you, that's the problem. So your worldview doesn't even allow you to think outside the box. You're immediately assuming that because it disappears the way that it does, that it's impossible for it to be an optical phenomena, and that you are literally seeing it disappear over some sort of physical curvature. It's very easy to debunk that the sun is setting over physical curvature, because there are plenty of observations of people watching the sun actually disappear into itself and actually miraging towards the bottom of the horizon, because it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that the horizon is basically a mirage over the water. There's refraction almost everywhere you go when you're doing those observations. It's the reason why the sun sometimes appears to blow up and the moon sometimes appears to blow up towards the horizon. It's because the atmospheric refraction and the lensing that we agree is happening. So there is another observation that you can compile with that. If you go,
So most
so I can't remember what the website is, but basically you can take a box with a lens in it. You can actually slide a sun or moon cutout on an even surface, even flat surface, look through that lens at a reasonable observer height, use your phone camera, and you can see that you can replicate a sunset even though it's not changing elevation.
So
So
the atmosphere isn't a Fresnel lens, and it depends on what part of the lens you're using. Because if you put the lens lower and have the sun at the top, it's going to have an opposite effect.
Where does the
yep.
So
most
using a
refraction
Fresnel
happen? Is
lens
it
really
towards the
doesn't
water or
create.
is it up in the sky? Because I'm going to be honest with
Why
you, I
does
think a
it
Fresnel lens is a
disappear?
pretty good
Say that again.
representation.
So why does it disappear from the bottom up?
It does the same. If you actually go and do that experiment, you'll see that it makes everything disappear bottom up. It's because of the reduced angular resolution, something that's very easy to demonstrate.
Do you think a dot on a basketball knows the basketball is round?
That's a dumb question. You're presupposing the ball. Do you have any scientific evidence of the spinny ball Earth?
Absolutely. There's so many evidence out there that you can,
So let
like
me
a
let me narrow it
5-year-old
down
can
though,
do.
so we can save time. Do you have scientific, as in observable, repeatable, remove the variable to test it observations with
Tested time and
that did not presuppose the
tested,
ball initially?
tested time and time again.
I would love
The
to.
shadows, the stick shadows. How do you
Yeah, the
Back to
explain
the
sticks and
that?
question
shadows
about the
is
Fresnel lens.
so.
Go ahead, Bedazzle.
Is the sun in the air or near the surface?
I mean, obviously the sun's in the air, but compared to the cosmological model that you guys are going with, it's relatively close to the surface. It's all about reference point, right? Aren't you guys the ones who like to invoke that?
What?
All right, mind if I hop in here?
Absolutely.
Sure.
Welcome to
I
the
got a
stream, man. Thanks
couple
for
of
coming on.
questions for.
Go ahead, brother.
No, I was just saying thanks for coming on. I appreciate it.
Okay. Oh, sorry. Okay. My questions. First question here. Where does the Earth's magnetic field come from?
I don't know. My question to you would be, how does the Earth's magnetic core survive the extremely hot temperatures when the point that a magnet stops working is way lower than what the Earth's magnetic temperature or the Earth's core supposed temperature is? So I'd ask you the
Yeah.
same
So the
question. Do
Earth
you have a
itself is
magnetic
not
core?
magnetic. What happens is you get electric currents because the iron is molten and electrons and protons are free to move throughout the fluid, and you get electric currents, positive charges flowing one way, negative charges flowing one way. And since the Earth is rotating, you have an electric current that is rotating, and physics 101, that's a magnetic field right there.
Yeah, so it seems that she didn't
So
understand
it's
my
not
question.
that the iron's too hot to be magnetic. It's not too hot to produce electric currents.
Let me clarify, so make sure that I understand that
Yep.
I'm not just being stupid. Is the magnetic force generated like not in the core of the Earth in your model?
Yeah, it is generated in the core in the Earth.
Okay,
Yes.
so regardless of everything you just said, you didn't refute the fact that I know very well how electric, not fully. I'm not going to claim to be an electrical expert, but I do know that that magnetic ability diminishes with heat. So the
You
temperature
heard
is
that
really, really
iron
high.
becomes.
Is it not?
You heard that iron becomes less magnetic or is not magnetic at the temperature of the Earth's core, right?
Right.
It does not say that iron cannot have electric currents running through it at that temperature. That's what you misunderstood when you read that fact. I've heard it before as well. It's electric currents, and the rotation of the Earth, rotating those currents produces the magnetic field. So it's not the iron is magnetic all by itself. It's electric currents rotating magnetic field.
Well, I have to.
Just so you know, I have a degree in astrophysics, and I'm an engineer. So I know a little bit about stuff.
David, I have a question. I'm actually a glober myself, but I want to ask, why would it lightens? Why does the lightning hit the ground and it doesn't, you get what I'm asking? Like, why does lightning hit the ground and it doesn't? Does that have to do anything with gravity or anything like that, or no?
I'm sorry. Are you asking me something?
Yes. I'm a glober myself. I said, well, I'm a glober myself, and I'm asking, why does lightning, when it hits why does it hit the ground? Does that have to do with gravity or anything like that?
Oh, lightning. No.
Yes.
That doesn't have gravity. That is just a discharge. Lightning actually comes from the ground up, strangely enough. But it's just charges equalizing between clouds or between the ground and the clouds.
Gotcha. Okay.
But I don't know. That's not really my.
All right, I got tons of people in the guest box. Briefly, you got last words before I switch you out?
Yep. Last
my
words
phone
would
is
be.
my phone is kind of choppy. Yeah, I'm gonna drop.
Okay. Awesome.
And then,
My connection
and
is
then
kind
I'll
of bad.
get
So I'm
off.
gonna
I'll
drop.
say one more thing, and then I'll get off too.
Awesome. I got 5 people in here, so I
Honestly,
appreciate
guys, I don't understand why you guys think the government's so against you guys. And again, there's certain things that obviously the government does that is bad, but for them to lie that we live on the globe, it's kind of ridiculous. So
Well, that's a matter of
hopefully one day
personal
you
opinion.
guys will understand. Hey, man, listen, the Earth is a globe. You can do many experiments yourself to find out.
Yeah, we've done experiments that show the utter lack of curvature. Everything else that I've heard so far seems to be conjecture. I think that we're
Like the
assuming
experiment,
that things are the only working the way they are because of
like the experiment they did behind the curvature, and they proved themselves wrong.
Yeah, they
Let me
actually
get
didn't put
paid
anything in that
actors.
experiment. You actually have to go back and look at the calculations. They didn't meet the globe requirement either. They didn't hit either of the requirements, so the experiment was a wash.
So why don't we do that? Why don't we go do that same experiment live, and you can prove
So
yourself wrong again?
well, here's the thing: if we did the same experiment in the same exact conditions, it'd probably produce the same exact results, which would be right in the
So
fucking
let's do it in your conditions.
So it's been proposed, and I completely agree that we want to do more experiments for sure, because it just makes the debate easier, you know. So one of the experiments that we'd like to do is called the force the line experiment. I had heard rumors that the guy who was starting that up had gotten threatened, but I don't know how true that is. I'm not even going to offer conjecture on that, but I think it's a great experiment where we can take something that we can agree on will hold its straightness and just literally do a hard measurement across a long distance. I don't think that'll be too difficult to do or organize for that matter, but I think that'd be another good way to go ahead and demonstrate it as well. And we can go ahead and put this debate to bed finally, right?
So what would make you not believe it's flat?
What's that?
What would make you not believe that it's flat? What would it take?
Man, first you'd have to before I'd even consider it, you'd have to acknowledge that before they had evidence of any kind, that they were choosing the model on on philosophical grounds and not assume that the scientists are unbiased because the fact that most of y'all can't do that makes it really, really hard to listen to any of your other points.
So for the 2,000 years they've been doing this,
No,
no.
so you were told. See, here's the difference between you and I is that you
There's
believe the stories that
books.
you were
There's
told,
books written about this.
and we don't.
There's books. Like
So
what?
everything in the
Like,
book is accurate, bro? That's-
bro, I'm talking about billions of people been doing this for 2,000 years.
Billions of people.
Billions.
What
You
having
don't think one
cognitive
person will come
dissonance?
out?
Yeah, so see, here's the thing. In order for that to be true, and you'd have to dismiss the fact that it's been an ongoing debate even as early as like 50 years ago. So, I mean, it was actually illegal in certain areas in the United States to teach spherical Earth. So, you just think
Absolutely
that it's
not.
been this long-term
Absolutely.
determined, and
You
then
are
everybody who
absolutely
doesn't believe it
100%
is
wrong.
stupid. But you
Yo,
got
do
to
you realize
understand
that my
Why you
that
gotta
that's
parents
do
not the case.
and my great grandparents, like my grandparents or my parents never said that?
Well, my great
And
grandmother
they
said,
learned the
well, not
globe?
great grandmother, my grandmother said the opposite, and she's actually still alive. So, luckily, hopefully, I'll be able to go over here soon and get her testimony. But I literally point blank asked her, I was like, what cosmology were you taught in school? And she said that she was taught a flat Earth. So
Globe.
she doesn't even use the internet.
Absolutely not.
She don't even use the internet, so she doesn't even know that this is a thing.
This is crazy. Oh man. Listen, I don't know where your grandmother went to school, but absolutely not, man. Like my grandmother told me different,
Well, there's
and my
newspapers
neighbor's
and stuff. I
grandmother
mean,
told
again, you
me
don't have to
different.
take my word for it. You can literally just start looking up like old newspapers and stuff because there's still old copies and stuff floating around that you can find. But yeah, you still haven't addressed the
You bring
idea
me
that
one
every.
newspaper from the
So,
Can
50s,
I?
one
do you think it's
newspaper,
not? I
one
just
book.
have a question for all of you guys. Do you
Can I?
think that scientists are unbiased?
No,
Nobody's
they're
unbiased.
biased.
Right, I appreciate
Nobody's
that.
unbiased.
I can appreciate that. Thank you
You
for
bring
being
me
honest.
one book. You bring me
Hey,
one
hey,
book from the
hey, can I
50s
can I
that
can I
says
ask
flat
can I
Earth.
ask a
I'll be
question?
a convert.
Can I ask a question real quick?
Go
Um,
ahead.
has anybody ever like everybody was talking about we were talking about the seeing the horizon and you know
Rip, see, I'm
proving
gonna
it's
switch you
flat
out, bud.
around that way, right? So, okay, like I stated before, I'm a submariner. When we were on top of the water hiding from other submarines, well, not after hiding from submarines who come up, So when we're up there, I got maybe a 50 to maybe $100,000 pair of binoculars, right? These binoculars are so good that I can take off my actual glasses and it'll give me perfect sight plus what's going on. It's just like some very, very super high tech binoculars. With those binoculars, I can see almost close to 60 to 75 miles,
Good comment, Rick.
right?
I see you.
So I'm in the middle. Hold on. I'm in the middle. I'm in the middle of the ocean. Why, if the earth had any curve to it, how would I would be able to, if you believe me or not, but how would I be able to see almost 60 another submarine or another ship 60 to 70 almost close to 100 miles away, but when I take the
I got you with
binoculars
that.
off I
If you'd
see
like,
nothing but horizon.
I can
It's
explain why you
perspective,
get
right?
that.
It's perspective.
It's
So do you
refraction.
believe in perspective is my question.
So if you have, it's refraction. So if you have light ray traveling parallel to the surface of the water, you're eventually going to, according to the globe model, hit a curve. So the way air density works is it's not layered.
You break
Heavier,
you're
denser
breaking up
stuff,
bad.
and it gets less and less dense as you go up, right?
Wait, you're
Really?
breaking up bad. I'm sorry.
So
You're
can you hear
breaking
me
up. You
now?
froze.
Can you hear me? Shit.
Just give it a
No,
second.
not really. Yeah,
Anybody hear me?
I got you. You're starting to come through.
we can hear you now. Yeah.
You good? Okay. All right, cool. So the way the atmosphere is, it's layered a little bit, right? The stuff at the bottom is the densest, then it gets less dense as you go up. Well, light travels at different speeds through different mediums, particularly different densities of air. So if you go from one medium to another medium that has a different index of refraction, like different densities of air, at an angle, like you would for a curved Earth, you get refraction, like bends. And you can actually get to the point where it
I love this one.
bends equivalent to the curvature of the Earth.
Okay, so you're telling me, so let me just layman terms that so I probably can understand and you correct me. So you're saying that when I look through the binoculars, the light rays that I'm seeing is constantly refracting off the Earth, which is letting me see further and further around the curve. Is that what you're saying? Because that sounds like that's what you said.
It's refracting through the layers of the atmosphere.
Okay, so
It's refracting through
my
the layers of the
sight.
atmosphere.
If you
So
want,
that's
you can
letting
shine a
me.
laser pointer into a puddle of water or a pool of water, and you'll see exactly what he's talking about. How the light refracts when it hits a medium of different density.
Okay, I can understand that. That is a valid scientific term.
If you
But what I'm
give
saying,
me a
what
sec,
is
I really have a burning question I really wanted to ask you
okay?
guys. Yeah, I've been on here for a while,
And
kind of
then
been saving it up. Mind if I give it a go?
give it a go.
So this December 21st, 2022, there's a town in South Argentina, Ushuaia, I think it's pronounced, that will see 17 hours of sun on that day. On the other side of the flat Earth world, there is a town in Tasmania that will also see 17 hours of sunlight. Both of these towns will have consecutive days of 17 hours of sunlight on completely
Yes.
different sides of the flat Earth.
That
Meanwhile,
no,
everything in the
that's
center
not true.
between these two cities has the longest night of the year. Can you
That's because
explain this to me?
I can't. I could. I'll give it a stab if you want me to, because the
Yep.
flat Earth is the we are not where we are where we think we are, right? Hence, we having a discussion over globe and flat. So those two places are at the outermost circle of the moon and the sun. The moon and the sun orbit over the earth in a circular pattern. The To give you an idea of how that's possible, the Chinese yin yang sign is the ancient Chinese secret of how the sun and the moon operates. You know what I'm saying? They
That's
put it directly in your face and you really don't understand it. So the sun and moon rotates. So those two places, even though they're at the outermost and in your opinion, different sides of the earth, but they are still
not
in the
my opinion. That's the
circular
flat Earth
pattern.
model.
Right. And no, that's not the flat earth right there that he's showing that map part. That's not how it is. The
Yeah, I agree. That's not the flat
actual
Earth. The flat
representation
Earth
of
model has
flat
the
earth.
North Pole in the middle.
Right. The actual representation of a flat earth is the UN flag symbol. They throw it in your face and you still can't understand the signs and the symbols. They even tell you if you look at the map, it shows you exactly where the continents
Proof
are
from
in
Caribbean
relation
comment.
to how the world is. But people always want to say, "Oh, that's just the top down look at it. That's the flatted out flag of it." It's not though. It's the actual truth. But
All
it's
right.
like that.
So
So
is
so the sun and the
Argentina and
moon.
Tasmania on different sides of your world?
Say again?
Yes or no? Yeah, are
No,
Tasmania and Argentina on different sides of your Earth
no,
world?
no.
How are they getting multiple days of 17 out? They're not?
They're not.
You have
Listen,
your own flat Earth
they're
model?
in.
I've been
It's
debating
not.
flat Earth for
They're
a
not
while. I know
on.
the map.
Listen, they're not as far. They're not like saying. I'm not going to agree that they're directly apart from each other. Like this one on this side, this one on this side. I'm saying they're closer in relation, but they're on the same pattern. They're on the same circuit. See, the sun and the moon circles in like a spiral.
You're stalling,
That's how
man. You have
come
not
the
answered
Arctic.
any part of my question. Come on.
I'm doing it. What part am I leaving out? I'm telling you, they are
Here-
going to get the same. They're getting the same because they're on the same circular pattern of they're on the circumnavigation of the sun and the moon. So at that
Tasmania,
point,
South.
it's at you said it's winter. When it's winter time here, the sun is at the outermost ring. It's far. It's at the outermost ring, like Australia, Argentina, them parts. When it's summertime, the sun is in the innermost, is closer to the innermost ring, and it just spirals all the way out to the end, and then spirals back up to the middle, and then spirals back out to the end, and spirals back out to the middle in a never
I'm
ending
asking
stopping
how it can
pattern.
be on opposite sides at the same time because you need 17 hours of sunlight on opposite sides of the flat Earth. How is that possible when the
Okay.
middle has the longest nights of their year?
I would rebut that
Okay.
with
How if
with our own question. July 8th, we actually had something that's pretty crazy. That's what I actually put up behind here, where I think it was like 85% of the whole world's population was able to get sunlight at the exact same time. Now we all know that the map behind me is a distortion. So I would just ask, how is it possible on the globe Earth to have um, a majority of the continents all lit up at the exact same time?
Well, I'd
that's
imagine it's
valid?
a
That's a valid.
population-based thing, right? So the population is not evenly spread. So if they did 85% of the population,
No,
I'm
just
sure the
look at
most
literally
populated
just look at the
countries
thing.
and cities were covered. I don't know.
You don't no, just
I'm just
literally
guessing.
look.
I'm not
Look at what
familiar
it
with the
is.
claim.
So can we disagree that the lights in the sky are not a good way to determine the shape of the floor?
I have a question about the he was talking about the sun being on the outside most part.
Can you pull up the UN flag, host?
Was that Silk talking when he said
Sorry?
the sun is outside during that?
That was Silk. Just I'm asking the host to pull up the UN flag. I'll be able to explain it better.
Yeah, give me one
So
second.
if the sun makes a larger, you're saying it makes a larger circle in the winter?
Just give me 1 second. Give me
Still
one
24
second.
hours,
Let
right?
let him let him. I'm gonna answer that
I'm getting
question.
there.
Let him
I'm
pull
getting
up the
there.
UN flag.
Must
Give
be
me one
really
second.
booking around that outside.
Yeah, no, it's actually slower.
I pulled up on this computer here.
The plot thickens.
Do you need the flag?
Yeah, just pull it. Just pull up the white and blue one. Just pull it. Put it on the screen.
Turn off my thing here. All right, let me. Is that good enough?
Well, yeah. Okay, it would have been even easier if you'd have just pulled up a regular JPEG or
I was just trying to be quick.
PNG.
All right, here we go.
Yeah. No, just the actual flag. Yeah, there you go. Stop. That one, right there. That you guys,
So
that's Earth.
Australia and South America are about as far apart as you can get, right? The southern
Absolutely,
tip of both.
absolutely, and that's what I was saying. That's exactly what I was stating. They are on. You see that? You see the? Okay, look. You see the circles? Those are the rings. Those are the seasons, right? Those rings represent a season. The one in the middle, when it's all the way like, all right, from the outside is winter, fall, spring, summer, right? Rings. Now the months and the time zones are the diagonal lines that go out, right? So it takes 365 days, 364 whatever, um, or six, however they feel it, to go around in a pattern, right? The sun rotates. So almost like, have you ever did one of them centrifugal force things where you shoot the penny around and they go around and around and around and around and around and around and around until it just dropped through the
You
hole?
mean the demonstrations of general relativity where the penny like orbits some ball in the center? Is that what you mean?
Right. Yeah. It's nothing but a penny on a slanted surface. It's gonna
Man,
do
you
that
guys really
regardless.
got a grasp for shit, don't you?
Okay,
So look.
so when
So
that
so
penny
so the sun. So he said the two countries on the end, right? They are touching the. He said, and the key word that he used was it was winter time, December, winter. So the
well
sun has
it's their
already
summer.
came out to the outer ring, which is winter. The outer ring is winter. So it's winter here. It's winter over there. The sun rotates very slow when it's on its outer course because it's gaining enough speed to go right back into the inner course. So on the outer side, you get
How
17 hours.
Silk,
You get 17 hours of, yeah, go ahead.
Silk, how is the sun rotating around a wider circle yet yet making the same 24-hour day? It's going slower. The circle is
It's
larger.
look, keep it on that. Oh damn, host. I wish you'd have kept it on there. Look, you see the quadrants? The quadrants are speed. right? They've already calculated this stuff, and they give it to you. If you can understand and break the symbols, you'll understand it. The
So does it go
quadrants are speed.
faster? Does it go
No, it
faster
goes
or slower
slower. Look,
in
the
the
wider
winter?
the quadrant, the slower it goes.
So how does it go slower around a larger
Because
circle
it's
and
the
still only take 24 hours?
they're all of those quadrants are equal, even if you add them up, right? So
So it would have to go
when
faster around
it
the
no,
larger
listen,
circle. The circle's larger. You can see that. We both can see that.
exactly. So I just
So
said it
how is it
goes
going slower
slower.
around the
That's
larger
why the
circle?
quad. Look at the quadrants. It from the innermost, the sun moves faster. It's closer. It's spring. No, the innermost is summer, right? The sun's always out. It's beaming. It feels like it's closer. The sun feels like it's beaming right on your head. It's close. It's hot.
Silk,
And
with all
then
due respect, you've done a
as
lot
in
of
it, in it,
talking and you have not answered the question. With all due
I
respect,
have. I
I
just
have
showed
a
you. If
question.
you
You've
can't,
not even
there's
approached
the
it.
So
bro. That's the answer. I just gave you the answer. Look at the
The sun
quadrants.
is on
They're
two
the
different sides
same.
of your flat Earth at the same time.
Silk,
17 hours of sunlight on both of those cities at different sides of the world. You say the sun
Yo,
moves the slowest
even
in
on
the
the
winter on the
globe,
outside. How does it get
even
back to
on
the
the
other side of the
globe,
Earth?
that can't happen. How can
Silk,
that happen on the
Silk,
globe? Can you explain?
respectfully, the sun
Yeah,
never
the sun
changes
is
speed.
or the Earth is tilted 23
The
degrees.
sun
That's how it
never
can happen.
changes speed, ever. Every day is 24 hours, no
Is
matter where
23
you are
degrees?
on the ground. Some days you have 17 hours of sun. Some days you have 3 hours of night. But
Do you
the
okay?
speed of the
Do you
day
know
is
what
always
time it is
24
right
hours.
now for real? Do you know what time it is right now for real?
What do you mean for
Do you
real?
know what do you know what time it is? Do you know what Zulu time it is right now?
It doesn't matter. The sun never
Listen,
changes speed.
just listen. That you're not answering the question. The time right now is 9:20 human time, PM, human time.
What is human
Military
time?
time, government time is Zulu. It is not Zulu time right now is a totally different time. So time that you think is relative. It's not even the
I don't
time you
care what
think. It's not
time of
even the
day.
day you think. So you can't
I
use
don't
the
care the time
time
of day.
24 hour. This it is 24 hours
The
relative,
time of
but
day
it's
is
not the
irrelevant.
time you think it is.
The time of day is
How's the
irrelevant.
sun on different sides of the world at the same time, man? How's that happen? Please try to
So
address the
so
question.
so on a go. Let me ask a question because maybe I need clarification
Uh,
to actually answer you. Is the
yeah,
two
go for it.
countries is the two countries you speaking about on the globe close together to get the same sun at the same time?
They're closer together because they're both in the southern hemisphere and they're both closest to Antarctica.
Can
So
no, the question, see,
closer than
you're
they
not
are in the
answering
flat
my
Earth. Yeah.
question. You're not answering my question. My question was, are they in
Right.
the same location to get that same 17 hours worth of sun at the exact same time?
They don't both
Because
get the
that's
same 17 hours. They
well,
both
why are
get
you
their own
asking me
17
that?
hours. They share
I
some
just
of the sunlight.
explained. I just explained how
They
they can
share
have their
some of the
own
sunlight. There
17.
is an overlap. Some of the that's the point of my question. There has to be an overlap if they both get 17 hours, right? So if there's an overlap, that means your sun has to be on different sides of your world at the same time. It's not 17 hours of overlap.
No. Okay,
That's
so
just how
you're
much sun
saying
they individually get.
that's what, but even on the UN map, they still get the same amount of sun. That's what I'm trying to get you to
How?
understand. Because
How?
it is going to move over the land mass at at
Someone
the
please make
exact
these
same
time zones
speed.
make sense on the
So
globe.
and then somebody just said the sun never, we like it's the same hours. So how can you get 17 hours worth of sunlight if the sun don't change?
Dude, you're not even trying
Because
to
the
Or
understand,
are
Earth
you
right?
blaming
spins.
it on the earth?
But
The
how
Earth
is the
Or are you
spins.
sun
That's the
see
reason a
shine?
day
see
is
in your
24
model,
hours.
see that's the difference. In your model, the earth
It makes
controls
perfect sense.
everything. In my model, the sun controls everything.
Yeah, the sun
See,
never
that's the
changes
difference
speed.
because
If it's the
the
Earth's
sun
rotation,
does
that makes
change
perfect
speed.
sense. No, it doesn't.
If the
No one's.
in my model, the sun changes speed. In your
I don't
model,
care
it
about your
doesn't.
model. I care about reality.
I don't care
The sun
about
has never
your
changed
model. That's
speed
why
in
we're having
reality.
I'm very curious
differences,
about the
brother.
flat Earth model. I am very curious. I don't think it's a scientific model, though, because you have a lot of explanations that are just, I don't know, or God makes it happen. For example, why would the sun randomly, spontaneously be moving in a spiral over the surface of the Earth? I mean, our models have gravity
I
and
can
things
answer
worked
that, but
out.
that's a whole deeper debate. I can't answer that question, but if that's a whole rabbit hole because
I'm
once you
still
get
just
to the
waiting
point,
for sun
the
on
whole
either
point
side of
is
the world.
one of us is wrong, and once the truth comes out, one of us are gonna be like, "Hey, I thought this way. Why did they lie to me?" See,
The
but
truth is already
I've
out.
already stepped
Out,
out
man.
of
There's
that
pictures.
box
I mean, there's lots of pictures.
So,
of what
Live
You
feeds
still
of
from
what
haven't.
the
all right. So
ISS.
I'm gonna
all
step in.
I mean,
every
you
Y'all
can
going
listen,
say
back and
they're
forth
all
until
listen.
fake,
y'all
Right
but
now,
at some point
there.
you're going to have to say there's just too many pictures,
All right, listen.
No,
right?
sir. No, sir. I'm a computer animator right now by trade. I just graduated in the end of July. So, well, yesterday actually. That's
You
fucking.
graduated yesterday, so you're not a computer animator.
No, I'm a computer animator. I got my degree.
Not if you
That's
graduated
good.
yesterday. I have a degree in astrophysics, but I'm not an astrophysicist.
Yeah. So
Okay,
for your
but
devil's
you did.
advocate,
Hold on. Wait a minute. Nope. 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 You didn't say that. You self-proclaimed yourself as an astrophysicist when you came in the room. You didn't say
No, I
I
didn't.
got a degree in it.
No, he said
You
he
said
said he
you
has a
were,
degree in it.
and everybody.
Why
No,
would I
you
lie?
didn't say
I have a
degree.
degree in astrophysics, and I'm a
No, no,
chemical
no. I'm not
engineer.
saying
Like,
you're
that's
lying. No,
why
no,
would
no, no,
I
no, no, no.
say
I'm not
something
saying you're
different?
lying. I'm just saying I heard you say I'm an astrophysicist and saying
And you
instead of
heard
saying
wrong, man, because
I'm
I didn't say that.
studying astrophysics. You know what I'm saying? I'm a
He
Yeah,
said
but
studying
he
you
has
heard
a
wrong
degree.
because I
astrophysics.
didn't say that,
Okay.
obviously, because why would I say that? Because I'm
Okay,
not an
no problem. No,
astrophysicist,
no, no, no
right?
problem. Listen. I think the disconnect is we are using math and science and physical
We are using math and
observation.
science.
Hold on. No, hold on.
Yep.
And
Go
we
ahead.
are too, because all I have to do is pull out a pair of binoculars and I shoot 1,000 of your theories down. 1,000. Then you got to start
One.
getting into the molecular structure of air and everything, trying to mathematicize the reality of
Mathematicize.
sight. Yeah, that's a new
I'm
word.
sorry you don't understand my
New word.
explanation. That doesn't mean it's not
No,
true.
no, no, no. I'm not saying that. See, I'm saying I do understand yo. See, here's the thing. I've been where you are, but you won't step to where I am. You won't
You
step
haven't been
into
where
the
he has.
thoughts. You won't step. Yes, I have, because everybody
No, you
learned
haven't.
about the
He
moon.
has a degree in
Every
astrophysics.
single child. Hold on, brother. Every single child has learned the globe model since cartoons. When they were 2, 3, 4, you were indoctrinated on a globe model society since you were before you can even speak.
Yeah, those
So
kids
I
understand
was
it better
there.
than you.
You still haven't
It's kids
explained
that
how
believe.
the sun
It's kids that
shines on opposite sides of the
because
flat Earth.
kids are more manipulative in theory and
Kids?
brainwashing.
Kids are
Yes,
pure, man. They're not manipulated.
you can manipulate a child to believe in any theory you force and indoctrinate into their head.
And then
That's
you'll
how that's how
vehemently
pure
fight
they
to
are.
defend it.
I feel
That's
bad
It's
how
for
like
pure they
Stockholm
are.
syndrome.
They're so pure you can corrupt them with your idle thoughts and your
Science
vain
was the only
wishes.
time I didn't feel indoctrinated by school.
That's your personal. That's
That's
personal.
funny.
History,
Well,
history
listen, they
feels
You're
literally tell you in
personalizing.
school, they
English.
literally tell you in school that science is this perfect method and that the scientists that do it are unbiased. And we had to come to the conclusion ourselves as
No, they
adults
don't.
that humans
That's
were biased and that that was bullshit.
It-
So I
they
just
I'm
never
don't
sorry you
understand
got
how
mentioned.
bad
we can acknowledge
education,
that the
but that is
science is
not science at
imperfect and
all.
that that there are corrupt powers that be. I mean, if we can all agree
Absolutely.
that the government does not have our best interests in mind, I mean, that shouldn't be that hard to
Absolutely.
see.
I don't need the government to prove I'm on a round Earth.
Yeah, well, you guys haven't
Well, if
Or
you're,
gave any
can I,
meat. You've given no actual scientific evidence. You have some postulations
I
and you have
gave
some
one.
interesting observations.
The
can
sun,
somebody?
the sun never changes speed in the sky.
So if you
Yep. And your
put a
velocity
piece of tape,
remains the
put a
same.
white piece of tape on
That's
two
your
things of a
opinion
clock,
on a
watch
globe
something go
model.
by.
That's not an
It's the
opinion.
same
You
speed.
can go
It's not that
outside and
hard to
measure it
visualize.
every day. The sun
It's your
never changes
opinion on a
speed.
globe model though,
That's not
but
an
it
opinion.
does.
That's easy to observe.
The
You can do it.
You don't need a globe model at all. Yeah, you can totally still make an arc in the sky and measure out the angular velocity of the sun, and it remains constant and then doesn't change shape and then doesn't get smaller and then disappears behind the horizon.
Well, Devil's
Okay,
Avocado,
so
do you
what
have any? Because I got to
can
switch here.
somebody
I have
answer?
another person coming
Can
in. You
somebody
have to
answer
go
how
past
come the
Devin.
oxygen just don't fly out to space?
How come
Because
oxygen
gravity
flies?
pulls it down.
Gravity.
How come the oxygen does if space is a vacuum, which is a constant pull, how come the air that we breathe doesn't dissipate or evacuate into
It,
space?
it's because the
Gravity.
force of gravity in there is
What
greater than the
around
gradient
the force of
force of
gravity? Can you explain that without
All
using
right.
the force of gravity? Because we already know
Well,
that the
you
force of
don't
gravity
understand.
isn't
You
real.
can't explain the
Understand
movement of
gravity.
any object without factoring in gravity. Like you
Silk,
can't
I
bring
got
it.
a question for
So
you.
yeah.
Do you believe in a firmament, or like we're in a contained system?
Yes.
So in your contained system, without using gravity, why is there a gradient of pressure? Why is there pressure higher at lower altitude?
The pressure comes from the expel of oxygen from the trees and the foyer, which builds up the
So why
pressure
doesn't it?
because there's no expand. Listen, there's no dissipation of the pressure. We breathe if we don't breathe in the oxygen that we breathe in,
I'm not
then
asking.
all of the insects would get so big because the concentration of oxygen would be so high in the air that the insects will grow
So
ginormous.
why is your oxygen not dissipating throughout the atmosphere like you're claiming ours will
Because
into space?
no,
Why
no,
is it
no, no,
not
no.
evening
I
out?
didn't say no, 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 no. You heard me wrong. I asked the question: how can a globe Earth contain the oxygen inside of it with external vacuum pressure on the oxygen itself?
You
Because
understand a
there's
Because
also
vacuum
different
doesn't
y'all don't
suck.
have a ferment or so gravity
A
is
vacuum
stronger on
doesn't
the
suck.
outside of the Earth.
No, a vacuum doesn't
what do you
suck.
mean?
There is a pressure gradient. So on the edge of space, you have, 0.1 psi, and then space
Oh, it's
0.005. It gets gradual and gradual. There's no hard barrier.
Devil's Avocado, I got somebody waiting in.
In
And
your
somebody else
system,
wants to
why
I've
is
join.
there a
never
Do
gradient?
you have any last things you'd like to
I've
throw
never
in?
heard that in my life.
A
Devil's
vacuum does
Avocado,
not
do you have any
hold.
last things you want to throw in before I switch out?
No, I got to go anyway.
Yeah, sure. Just want to reiterate, you
Oh,
guys
there. Hold on.
didn't.
Somebody else dropped it.
Are you talking to me or somebody else?
It's all good. Somebody else.
You're trying to switch me out, right?
You're good. Don't even worry about it.
Hey, how's it going?
Welcome to the stream.
Hey, thanks, man. I've listened to you a few times today, and I didn't have a chance to really comment or talk. I just would like to say to everyone, no matter what you believe, whether it is you think it's flat or it's round, um, the idea that the government moon landing has something to do with the shape of the Earth is absolutely absurd. If it was flat, NASA would still pump us for the same money. If nothing, they'd probably charge us more money and say, we need more money to get over these ice walls. So the idea that the conspiracy is to cover it up and they wouldn't be doing the exact same thing with CGI pictures of a flat Earth, we all have to admit that if we don't trust our government, then no matter what it is, it would still be the same thing and we would still be getting pumped for money. Can we at least all agree on that?
I would agree with that, but the problem is one guy
Uh,
six strings. You're ignoring the evidence of the religion that's also behind it, because
that's what I was
cosmologists,
about to say, host.
the
Okay.
Well, we
cosmologists
can
have
go
Thank
there
literally
you.
too.
said that they have
See,
I'm
more
no,
prepared
no,
to
ability. Hold
talk
no,
on,
about that.
host.
hold on. Let me talk to
If
you
you
real
want to,
quick.
That
if
was
you want to
very
direct the conversation, go
on
ahead,
point.
and that's fine. I had a few talking points that I wanted to bring up, but I'll let you go ahead and go first. But yeah, if you have any questions, I'm willing to touch bases on all those religious points with you as well. The problem when you deal
But
with religion is people want to take their own meanings, and
So no,
just
no,
like
you're
any other thing, they want
misunderstanding
to.
one guy six strings. Let me say this point
Sure.
because you misunderstand. First off, I don't subscribe to any mainstream religion. I'm not a Christian
Okay.
or
Are we
facts.
anything like
using the
that.
Hebrew translation of the Bible verses?
I have actually read those. It's pretty intense
Because
to
because
study
in
all that
that
stuff.
because in that the firmament literally means expanse.
Well,
So when you
regardless,
No, it
start using
doesn't.
the Hebrew,
No, it doesn't.
yeah, it does. It literally does.
The Strong's
I'm sorry, I'm not
accordance
trying to
for
argue. You
firmament.
can, okay.
The Hebrew Strong's accordance for firmament is not the expanse.
Okay.
It simply
Well,
is
then I
definitely
agree to
dome.
disagree on that. I agree to disagree. I guess
Look
people
it
Anyway,
can
up.
do their
Look
own
it
back to
up.
the
Look it
point.
research.
up.
Hold on. Back to a
Look it
really
up.
important point, because the question that you asked is like, if it could be, if the government's lying to us, then why would they
Just
just
made
milk
that
us
up.
regardless of what it is? The thing is that the people who
Then
are
the second
steering
thing I
that
wanted to
have
say was you
a,
got to understand
hold
that
on,
it's
hold
all
on, let me finish the
man-made.
point or you'll get kicked.
It's all bullshit.
So
Sure.
Edwin Hubble literally said
Don't
we
kick
have
me,
to avoid
please.
the position of a unique position in the universe. It's a horrible place for them. They don't want it. They don't want to acknowledge us as having a unique place. And they say this over and over and over again, that they choose this model based on modesty. So if we can at least agree that they have their own religion behind it, not that we have to accept it, or not that we have to agree with it, but it is their belief, it is their worldview, and they've admitted that.
Well, let me ask you: do you believe in the Big Bang?
No, it's bad science.
Okay. You're saying you don't believe in the Bible, but you don't believe in you don't believe in either one.
Correct.
Is that
I
correct?
think both sides are traps
Okay.
trying to get people all fucked up in what they believe.
So then we're simply coming from a science only. So the Bible shouldn't really have anything to do with this if we're
Correct.
talking about science, right?
Correct.
Okay. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Well, then that being said, then all the Bible verses really don't matter, because a circle of the earth, if I gave a pen to 1,000 people and told them to draw a circle, one person would be able to draw a sphere. The other 999 would draw a circle, like a basketball that you can't see the other side of. But I digress. How does a compass work?
Give me 1 second. I'll answer that in just a second. Devil's Avocado, do you have any
Sure.
last thing you'd like to say? I got one more person that wants to jump in.
Sure. Just wanted to bring up again, I stumped you on magnetic field, and I stumped you on why the sun is not on two sides of the world at once. And with that, you guys have a great night. Maybe next time you'll get me.
Awesome. We appreciate you
Take care.
coming on.
You didn't stop nobody.
Till next time.
You didn't stop nobody.
I don't know.
Yeah, so I
We let
hopped
them
in
believe
here.
what they want
I
to
did a
believe.
guest request. I
You know
requested when
what?
y'all were talking
It's
about
sad that
Montgomery.
it's sad that the chat has to talk bad about me because they think that I'm uneducated.
Well, it's okay, because whether you know all the answers or I know all the answers, I guarantee you none of us know all the answers.
That's for
So
sure.
the idea
Exactly.
is
That's
part of
the
that. This
point
is
I'm
what part of
proving.
this is of. Part of this is figuring it out.
See, and I thought that's what the conversation was. I just have a different opinion. I have a different view, and of course, if it's an opposing view, a lot of people take you know what I'm saying. They take it kind of wrong. They take it the wrong way, and
If there's a
it turns
sure, if
into
there's a
being
meteorite, if
argumentative.
there's
You
some,
feel me?
yeah, I understand. If
But
there's a
I'm not
dome, an
being argumentative.
impenetrable dome on the Earth,
Yeah,
what are meteorites?
pieces of it falling down from falling off
But
of it.
it's impenetrable.
No, no, no. But it would be impenetrable to the fact of man coming up with more and more penetrable weapons to shoot at it, more and more penetrable
So
rockets to bounce off of it,
Quit
and
being
they
a
and they and
mythical
they
event.
finally
okay,
getting it to crack.
so
You
the
know what I mean?
firmament is made of ore and
I don't
minerals,
know what
and
it's
you can't
made out
see
of,
through
but
it,
but
and you
hold
can't
on.
see through it. I don't
You
understand.
you know it's clear because
Okay,
we if okay, let's this is the rabbit hole, right?
where they got clear meteorites at?
Hold on, wait. I don't know. Have you ever seen a real meteorite in your life? I haven't. So
Well, I
how
don't
can
know,
I
but I've
answer
seen
that?
meteor
I've
showers.
you've seen
Light
in your
anomaly.
world there meteor shower. Hold on. In your world
I
there
think
meteor showers and
we've
in
all
my
seen meteor
world I'm
showers.
watching. No, listen. And in my world, the same thing that you're watching, I'm going to describe as pieces of the firmament cracking off and falling to earth. You see what I mean?
Well, yeah,
Because
but
the firmament,
even glass doesn't when it melts to a certain degrees, it doesn't turn where you can't see through it. Here's my
well,
issue: you have a
I
Hubble
know
telescope.
for a fact.
You have a
I know
Hubble
for a fact
telescope
they
that can
found.
see billions of light years into the future. I can see every star in our solar system except our
Have
sun at
you?
nighttime.
But you've never really looked through the telescope with your own eyes, right? You've seen nothing but
Yes, I have. And I
computer.
can't see
Okay,
the
so when
sun
you look,
on a
so you
telescope on
see,
a mountain at
so
nighttime,
you,
even light from it. On a flight around the world, if the sun was on a flat plane, I should be able to look over and see it. But people will tell you that it
it's
flashes
called
like a
no, no,
flashlight.
no, no, no,
It
no.
sounds like a flashlight, is what I've heard.
That's perspective, brother. That's what I'm trying to get everybody. When you look at something and you think it's gone, you think it's over a curve or over the horizon.
It's
You can't
still
see that
flat.
far.
If you put right,
You can't
exactly.
see,
You
the
can only
humans can't see that far. I'll
you,
give you that.
exactly.
You can't see that
It's
far.
called perspective. It's art. It's simple art theory. Perspective. It's where your eyes converge to a single point and disappear. So if you watch a ship sail out until it disappears over the horizon, all you have to do, you're gonna immediately
Is
think
put a
it just went
telescope
over
on
the
and then it
curve.
goes away.
You put some binoculars on, some really powerful binoculars, you'll see that ship as clear as day, almost like it's
Okay.
right in front of your face. That proves that it didn't go over the curve, even though your naked eyes seen it go over the curve
Do you
because of
know?
perspective.
Are you familiar with Pan Am Flight 50?
Maybe by name. Tell me the story.
It took them 54 hours. They circumvented the Earth from the North to the South Pole, all the way around. Fully documented. They've done it 3 times. Once in 1968 in a B-32 modified. They've done it in one called the Polar Cat. It was, believe, was the name of that ship. They've done also circumventing flights. The problem is that people think that they've had commercial flights since 1957. TWA's offered rides from New York to India to Europe, straight over the North Pole. The problem is when you start talking about the South Pole. And the reason why I asked you about a compass is a magnet can't work with just one pole. It just
Well,
cannot happen by
it
science.
actually can. On a flat Earth, a compass can work with just one pole.
Would you show me a magnet,
Because
please?
on a
Would you show me a magnet
hold on,
that works where you don't have 2 poles?
let me explain. Let me explain. In a flat Earth model, the North Pole, right? The North Pole is in the middle of the world. Like even on the globe is at the top, right? But on a flat Earth model, it's everything is closer, and the North Pole is the magnetic center. That's how come compasses always point north. No matter what, it's always gonna point north.
Well, this is
It
this is
don't
easy
point
to
south.
test.
It
This
doesn't
is
point
really easy
east
to
or
test.
west.
If you get in
Yeah,
a
you can
transatlantic
get,
flight, check it out. If you hold the
but you
compass
can't.
in your hand, if you let me talk, I can tell you, explain it to you perfectly.
Go ahead.
If you're on
Go
the
ahead.
equator on my scale, see, the important things for you to explain the flat scale is you have to know how the round scale works and how they're saying that all these things work, so you can adapt that over to your flat scale. And then when someone asks you from the round scale,
I
well, how
have.
does this work? Oh, okay, to where it makes sense to them, because what we get is only half of the story. You understand? Like no time change, no seasons, no explanations for none of that kind of stuff. And I have a friend that she is in where is she? She's
Such fallacious
in a
thinking,
foreign
man.
land. And anyways, I'm in Texas and she's in Scotland is where she's at. And yesterday
Okay.
or today, it was 12 p.m. It was 6 p.m. where she was at.
Well,
Okay.
yeah,
And she, let me finish.
it's 9 in the
Let me
morning.
finish.
It's 9 in the
She
morning
tells
in Hong
me,
Kong right now.
that the sun is going to set at 9 p.m. at her house in Scotland, and the sun also sets at 9 p.m. in Texas. Now, how is that possible on the flat plane for the sun to be in 2 places at once?
So you're telling me on a globe, Texas and Scotland getting the exact same sun and same
No,
nighttime
that's
at the
not what I
exact same
said.
time? That you
That's
have
not what I
to. You
said.
have to say that
Because they're not is how you know it's around. And
no,
because the sun sets in the
because
same
my
place at the same time and only has to travel 3 hours there when it has to travel 9 hours here, it's because of the equator.
huh?
The
Okay,
equator. If you
so
take a
you
compass and you get in the compass and you stay on the equator going east to west in an airplane, if you do that, it will always point north. If you hold it in your hand, it will never
that,
move from if you go
that's
left
what
or right, with whatever direction you got, it will the
but
needle will always point true north. Let me finish.
I
If
said
you
that.
go
I
up by
said that
the
already.
North Pole, okay, if you go up by the North Pole where the shipping lanes are, the actual magnetic North Pole is in Canada. It's not in where it says on the map where they show it. So what does that mean? That means the closer they get
It,
north to that, the compass, if you were to go and circumvent that right there and to walk around it,
it's gonna
if
point
you
south.
held it, let me finish. No, it will literally rotate in your hand and
That's
you'll
what
see
I
the
said
true north. Let me
initially.
finish. True north will rotate in your hand all the way around the compass. To keep it pointing true north, you would have to turn and face it and walk perpendicular, left or right, to keep it where it wouldn't rotate.
So if it rotates,
No,
that's how you know that it's a
but
round Earth. And if it stays straight, then you're flat all the way across.
that doesn't make any sense. No
Holy
disrespect,
shit!
but
Oh
you
my
you
god, that's
just
one of
gave
the
me a
funniest things
big
I've heard
old
already.
story using the exact same thing. That was almost like the henchman say, "Hey, we're gonna rob the
They're
bank," and the
making the
boss say,
frogs
"Shut up,
gate.
we're gonna
They're
rob the
making the
bank."
frogs gate.
No,
Hit you with
listen.
that Alex Jones. You know what I'm
Listen. I had already
saying?
stated. I had already stated that the North Pole and the magnetic north was in the middle. No matter how many times you walk
Well,
around the Earth or circumnavigate anything, it's gonna always point north. Even if you stand in the middle of north, you know what it's gonna do?
it
It's gonna
does
spin in a circle. It's gonna spin in a
until the
circle. It's
polarity
not gonna have.
shifts. Until the polarity shifts, and then south is now your new north.
It will never be
And it's
south.
already happened, and it happens
It will
every
never.
10 to 30,000 years,
You.
according to
It will
So,
never be
scientists.
south.
hey, can I comment in here?
Go ahead.
Sure.
Hey, yeah. So I'm Mikhail up here. So I just wanted to point out that I think the problem of the North Pole and magnetic north being two different places, a very tough theory on the globe. Because
Well,
one,
not when you realize
it
that magnet
proves.
is.
Well,
Sure. Go ahead, talk.
so,
I'm
dude,
sorry.
you really bad at listening, man. Just straight up, you talk a lot.
And your point is, you
Please
haven't
don't cut
answered
me
one of my
off.
questions.
That's
You
my
haven't
point.
answered one of my questions. I'm over here spitting hot fire. Don't get in the way unless you got some
Man,
real important something to say.
you making shit up.
The
Okay.
point is to be able to hear people out, and I was 5 seconds in, and you cut me off. So
I wasn't
listen,
done talking yet.
if your theory involves a pole that goes north south, but in actuality north is not north, that proves that your model is not as right as you think it is. And
Thank you.
plus,
Okay, look, let
really,
me
the
explain something to you.
magnetism
What
in
you're saying,
general.
you're half right. You're
So
half right. But what you're not
so
understanding is you still have the thoughts of like it's a flat plane and gravity pulls straight down and blah, blah, blah. But it's not.
So no,
Surface
I think
tension
you
pulls
need to
everything
stop
in from the
talking
sides.
long enough in
So
order to
west
hear
or
someone else
east could be
complete a
north.
thought.
You can have west or east be north, but it doesn't have a pole, so it's absolute. That's the difference.
That the purpose of a
Man, I don't
compass
like
is to point.
it's really
The
not
purpose
even
of a
worth
compass
engaging
is to
with you if you're
point
not
to the
even gonna let me
magnetic.
talk.
Yeah. The purpose of a compass is to point to magnetic north,
Yeah.
not east.
A
There's no
magnet can't
charge.
work without two
There's no
poles.
charge.
It's science.
There's no electrical. Listen, there's no electrical charge on east, west, or south of a compass. The only charge is on the north point of a compass. Even
Well,
in the
see, you're
Boy Scouts,
actually
they show
wrong.
you how.
That's not how a
Listen on.
compass works at
Listen.
all.
Have you ever
It
have you
aligns
ever made a
itself with
compass
the
yourself, Boy
magnetic
Scouts,
field
Cub
lines.
Scouts,
It
anything like
aligns
that?
itself
Because
with the
you
magnetic
have to.
field's
You
lines.
could take a
It does not
needle.
point north.
You could.
It does not point north. Let me tell you one more time. It does not just point north.
That's your
The
opinion.
actual
Okay.
whole needle lines
Yeah.
up with the
Okay. So
magnetic
what
field
other?
lines. There are many of them, so it
So
Son
changes
got the
as it
pink
goes
drink.
further into the North
Listen,
Pole.
if you keep talking over people, I'm gonna kick you, man.
is there
I'll tell you what, just
is
do
there
better than that.
only
Just
one
answer some of the
magnetic
questions.
line?
Answer one.
We
Well,
can't
man,
answer your
you're
questions because
making
you're making up
statements.
the
You're not
questions. We
asking
don't have an answer
questions.
to your made up questions.
No, he's not asking questions. He's making statements.
I asked the
Exactly.
question of how it is that the
Exactly.
sun can be in two places on your scale, on a flat scale. If I have a friend in Scotland, how is the sun setting at 9 p.m. in both places? You didn't
Yeah,
answer.
no. Okay, again, that's not what you were just
No,
talking
and that
about.
would
You
be
changed the
incorrect because
subject,
I
and the last thing you
thank
said,
you.
you didn't just give any questions. But again, there's
Exactly.
other problems here that I don't think are taken into
Because I'm not
account.
asking you, queer. I'm not
For
asking you. I'm telling you. You're going to listen to me
Oh
because
wow.
Yeah, we're not gonna deal with we're not
Wow.
gonna deal with name calling,
Well,
bro.
no, tacos and unicorns. I know explicitly how compasses work because I was on a submarine, and that's how they get around in the world by compass. We don't have a window. We can't see outside into the water and the fish swimming past. I'm looking at digital compasses, gyroscopes, and compasses, and that's how I control the ship. That's how I control the ship. That's how it happens, and all compasses are pointed to magnetic north on a flat Earth model. The military. That's why I'm so adamant with it. I'm telling you, the military uses a flat Earth model to move and circumnavigate this plane that we are on. They use something exactly like he's showing on the screen right now to get around. It's not a globe. They don't use the globe. That's how come, you know, a lot of planes, they don't fly over specific parts of the ocean. They always go inward and then go outward. If you just watch flight patterns, you know what I'm saying? That's the only disconnect, because I'm telling you from experience, personal experience, I had super top secret clearance. I had a the fuck is that called, the little form. I don't know why I'm brain farting right now. NDA. I had a 20-year NDA. It's up now, so I can say whatever I want to say now. You know what I'm saying? That's how
Yeah,
much I
I
was
actually hopped
in
on
it.
here. I wanted to ask the flat earthers if you believe that gravity is a real phenomenon or if you think that it's all made up.
No, we had this conversation earlier. No, I believe in the military way of density and buoyancy.
So how exactly would buoyancy work without gravity? Because why would things go up instead of down or left or right if everything's just
Anything,
relative to
anything
density?
move, anything moving left and right. Excuse me. Anything moving left and right is acted upon by an external force. Anything lighter than air floats. Anything heavier than air sinks. Water
Right.
is
But
definitely heavier than air, so it sinks, right?
so
And
if
even
something
water
is
has
lighter than
density.
air, then why does it goes up, right? Why does it go up
Uh-huh.
instead of down?
Ask the question again. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so if something's lighter than air, it floats. Why does it
Right.
go up instead of down if there's no gravity?
Because it goes up because it's lighter than air. It's
May I?
escaping the medium.
I actually have
It's
But
escaping the.
so I
why would
actually have
the
a little bit
relative
different of
density of an object matter versus the relative density of the air if there's not a force acting on both of them, pulling them down?
I'm trying to explain it to you. You keep cutting me off and asking me questions.
Sure,
The
yeah, go
air,
ahead.
the air in itself is a for is let's say, let's use it as air is matter, right?
Uh-huh.
Inside of that matter, okay, no, let me break it even better. Let's use water because we all used to water. Like when you dive in water, right? You're only gonna go as far as your density, right? You're only going to go as far as your density, because buoyancy is going to either equal you out and you float, or you're going to be lighter and you're going to rise to the top and float on top of the water. There are some people who are heavier who sink to the bottom, but they will only sink until their body pressure equals out to the water pressure around them, right? Or there's a floor or a bottom for them to settle upon, right? So to say that say if it was a bottomless pit and you just free fall, you just letting your body fall down, you're letting your density pull you down into the water, right? You're only going in a bottomless pit scenario, you're only going to go as far as to when your body finally equalize out into the pressure around you, and then you're going to float there for eternity. You see what I'm
Yeah,
saying? And nothing's gonna
you
make you move left and right unless the water rocks or an external force moves you out of your space of buoyancy. That's the only difference. And now just turn that upside down to air. If it's lighter than air, it's gonna float. See, if you think that up is down, meaning like when it floats up with the same scenario as it's sinking down to the bottom, you'll understand it more. So when it's lighter than air, a balloon is going to float all the way up to the air until it reaches the buoyancy of the air around it. Then it's going to float right there, and it would stay in one place, but air currents and external forces is going to blow it and make it move around. But if you put it in a scenario where there's no external air forces against the object, it will float all the way up until it equals out into the air around it, which is buoyancy. and it will just float there forever, almost like you seen It Too, how the little girl was just floating there because he made her buoyant to the air around her, and all of the kids was floating, but he had a little external force which was making them go around in a circle, but they were all floating on their own level. It's similar to that if you want a visual.
Sure. I guess I don't exactly understand how, because like when something floats, for example, in a layer of the atmosphere, it's because the relative force of gravity is the same on the object than it is on the air around it.
You're
It's
just
like,
confused that you're using gravity for buoyancy, and that,
right,
see,
right. Well,
buoyancy is a law. Buoyancy is a
yeah,
law. Gravity is a theory.
buoyancy requires gravity to work because
No,
buoyancy
no, it
wouldn't have a
doesn't.
direction without gravity. Because
It actually
buoyancy is
doesn't.
the no buoyancy is the volume of an object time which has no direction times the density of an object which has no direction times the acceleration due to gravity which is relative to the
No,
center of mass of the Earth.
but you're totally leaving out times the medium that it's in.
No,
And
no, the medium it's in density.
gravity has no effect. Okay, so if gravity can be so many things and at so many different power levels for so many different objects and things,
It's not the
explain
different
bugs
power.
flying. Explain bugs flying. So the same gravity that's keeping the water from keeping the air from flying out to the space, the same gravity that's keeping the water on the ground, the same gravity that's keeping you on the ground, doesn't have the same amount of force on flies and insects
No, it does have the same amount of
and
force.
birds.
They can
How?
fly when they push down on the air at an equal force to the
See,
force
see,
of gravity.
that sounds more like my theory of viscosity, density, and buoyancy. They're not flying, they're swimming. They're swimming through the viscous air of their
But
element. They're
but
the
you
same
understand
thing as fish under the sea.
there's no direction in buoyancy without gravity pointing in one
No,
direction.
no, no. There's no
What?
direction in buoyancy without an external force.
No,
And it
you
doesn't have
have
to be gravity. It could be air, it could be current, it can be it could be anything. It doesn't have to be gravity. You first of all, you have to prove gravity. No one has ever proven gravity. Gravity is a theory and
well,
everybody fights for it like it's a law. And that's the
no,
that's the part I can't understand.
gravity is an
Science
observable
tells you
phenomenon. You can observe
who?
gravity.
No,
You can observe gravity. Gravity explains the
you can
movement of
observe
objects.
buoyancy more than you can observe gravity.
No, you can't even observe buoyancy without gravity. It literally can't even
How?
function.
I just explained how it can function. I gave you a whole mathematical equation.
No,
Also,
like let's say you have a
density,
density. You have an
density
object of
times.
you have
Go
an
ahead.
object of a certain density and it's in a medium of a different density. How do you know which direction it's going to move if there's no gravity? Like you're
Because listen, all, everything we're talking about has volume, right? It has
yes.
volume. The seawater has volume. There's depths. It has volume, right? In that volume lies the buoyancy factor, meaning every part of that has a number value equated to how dense the water is at this level. It's the density of the water because it's in volume. Volume, density, buoyancy, right? So air has density. The higher you go, the heavier the air is. The lower you are, the lighter the air is. And it has a mathematical equation for every so many feet you go up, the air pressure at this feet, air pressure at this feet. That's how come airplanes have cabin pressure to equalize the pressure outside of the airplane, or everyone will implode like a crushed Pepsi can, right? So when anything is lighter than the air, it floats up until it's no longer lighter than the air, and then it floats.
But why does it
Same
go up
thing,
though?
because if it was heavy, it would fall because of density, the weight. Weight times the air, or the buoyancy, is what dictates up and down. Just like
Right.
if you were in the water, if you're heavy, you're going to sink. And if you're light, you're going to go up and float. It's the exact same thing. Just turn the model upside down.
Right, but
Turn it
whether
on
you
top
sink
of
or
each other.
float, it has to do with whether the buoyant force is stronger or the
No,
force of
density.
gravity is
No,
stronger.
no, 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 no. See, everybody equates density to gravity.
And it's
It's
not.
not the same. Density is a law. Density is a fact.
You
Gravity is a theory.
Just real quick,
And
Silk
Well,
Threads and
how do we measure
Ivies,
the
the
density of
density
objects?
equation is actually D
wait,
equals is actually P equals M over V. It has nothing to do with gravity. So, in case you were going to say that
exactly. Thank
density
you.
had anything to do with
Thank you.
gravity, it doesn't.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Now, what was your question again?
I'm sorry, I'm just a little confused about what you're saying.
I understand.
Like, like you measure something's like something that's more dense, weighs more, it has more
Wait.
mass, which means
Yes. Yes. That means it's
well, the
heavy,
more
right?
mass something has, the higher the force of gravity is on it
No, no,
because
no, no, no.
gravity is
Stop,
proportional
stop.
to
Okay,
mass.
think of it like this. Stop using gravity for 1 second. Just say you never heard of gravity before, right? Just let's play with me. If I tell you, if you know something is heavy, meaning it's big, it has a lot of mass to it, right? Because gravity doesn't dictate our weight, correct?
No, gravity dictates our
Okay.
weight. Our weight is the force of gravity. Our weight is mass
Whoa,
times
whoa.
acceleration due to gravity.
So mass, just to
So,
interject
so
again real quick, sorry to cut you off, Silk Threads, but just real quick to make sure that we're
go ahead.
staying on the same page. The mass of an object can be calculated by using density times volume, or M equals PV.
Thank
Again, it
you.
has nothing to do with gravity.
Thank you.
Right.
Look at the dumb person being backed up by science. Look at the dumb
Yeah.
person they calling in
Well,
the
my,
chat.
my point
Look
is
at me
is
being
if
backed up by science.
my point is if everything, whether it sinks or floats, goes up or down, is due to the buoyant force, why? Like, where does the
Density
buoyant
of
force get the
buoyancy.
direction?
Di-
Like,
the
why would it go one way
direction
instead of
comes.
another?
Listen, bro. I'm gonna do it one more time. One more time. Density is weight and mass, correct?
What's that?
Density, the amount of
Density
mass.
is weight. No, listen. Density is weight and mass, right?
No, no,
Weight
no,
times
no.
mass. Weight times mass is you'll get the density of an object.
It's mass divided by volume,
Volume. Okay, that's the same thing as what I'm saying.
pretty much.
How much of something. The mass is volume. Okay, but scientifically,
Can,
thank you, thank you.
can I ask you
Okay,
a
so
clarifying
so
question
so.
really quick? Can I ask you a clarifying question really quick?
Okay, go ahead.
Could you explain the difference between weight and mass?
They're the same thing.
They're not the same thing.
They're the same thing.
Because no. Mass is the amount of matter that's in an object, and
What's
weight is
weight?
the force. Weight is a force. Mass is just a number.
Okay, but all mass have weight, so it's the same thing. Mass and weight. From mass, you can dictate the weight. From the weight, you can dictate the mass.
Well, not
So they're
necessarily. Like, for
technically
example, like if you're
there's
stepping on like if you're in an elevator and you're stepping on a scale and the elevator's moving down, like your weight is less because
but you're being enacted upon by an external force because of the elevator going down. That's making you displaced in the air around you. That's how come you get that feeling, because you feel like you're floating because you are equal to the air around you by the external force of the elevator going down, which is going to make you weigh less because the weight of your mass is being buoyant.
I would just like
but
to say, while we're on this topic of gravity, I think even if there is a 9.8 meters per second acceleration downwards, regardless of what's causing that, there's nothing in this equation that dictates that that gravity is the same gravity that's pulling things in spheres. I've yet to personally see the equation that bridges that. And I think that regardless, we can agree that something makes things appear to go downward, but that doesn't mean that things are being pulled, that everything in the observable universe is being pulled into spheres. I think that you make that claim because you see all the stars in the sky and you have this idea that there's this infinite expanding universe out there. And so you then look at all these little dots, you assume that these dots are spheres because that's what we were told. And then you obviously assume that the Earth is a sphere on top of that because you've created a whole cosmological model in your head. But
right.
the
Well,
absolute,
I mean, if gravity is a force of attraction, it's going to pull things closer together and pull things as close together as possible, which would form into a sphere.
So, are you
May I
familiar with the
ask this?
Gaussian plate? Are you familiar with
Excuse
Gaussian
me?
plate, Ives?
No. You could explain it.
Okay, so basically what it is like two plates that you place over top of each other. Oh, it disappeared. And you magnetize them or charge them. I can't remember which one it is. It doesn't really matter. The idea is that, oh yeah, it's electricity. Basically, you can do away with the mass attracting mass equation if you replace it with something like incoherent dielectric acceleration. It's something that happens that we see between two Gaussian plates. You'll see when you turn it on, the experiment's done with foam balls, but you can replace it with other things. What happens is when the Gaussian plates turn on, the difference in the charge between in the space causes the acceleration towards whichever plate they're closest to, the object is closest to. So what ends up happening is, and there's some pretty neat experiments that you can see that you can actually do yourself. One is to take, can't remember what it's called, but basically something that adds a charge. You can add a negative charge to a helium balloon, and the helium balloon will actually sink back towards the Earth. Now, vice versa, you can add a positive charge, and forgive me if I have this backwards, but you get the idea of what I'm saying. If you add the reverse charge to an object, you can actually make that object levitate. And this has been demonstrated. So,
I mean, that's magnetic force. That's a different force than gravity.
well, see, that's exactly the point. So actually, I'm glad that you said that too, because there's an article that just came out recently that I think that globe earthers and flat earthers will find very interesting. Basically, they're coming out and saying that they're about to get rid of dark matter in lieu of this new, not new, different force that they call gravomagnetation force. Let me look it up real quick. Dark matter removed. It's going to come up here immediately because it's actually mainstream science now. I didn't realize it's also a game. Give me 1 second. Dark matter about to be replaced. Okay.
I'm curious. Can I ask one question related to buoyancy again?
Just real quick, hold that question because I want to get this point out. Current assessments of the galactic rotation curves based upon the framework of Newtonian accounts. A new paper published by Gersonato Ludwig, National Institute of Space Research, Brazil, suggests that if substituted with the general relativity-based model, the need to recourse to dark matter is relieved, replaced by the effects of gravitomagnetism. So they're already merging gravity and magnetism, and it's already known that there's a strong electromagnetic force between the atoms. So, in my opinion, you can just replace gravity with electromagnetism, and it'll work just as well.
I mean, to be quite honest with you, I don't think either of us have the capability of like fully understanding the physics of that. But
I wouldn't disagree with that, but I think if we're trying to understand the physics of something, they only introduced it because the gravity didn't make sense. They were off by a factor of 10 to the 120th power. They should have, by all rights, scratched the entire model, but they didn't. They wanted to keep it because it was the only thing that explained that we weren't the center of the universe. If you don't believe me, look at their quotes.
Okay, but I mean, like, all science is fake, though, right? Like,
majority of it is.
I try to avoid blanket terms, but I mean, yeah, a good majority of mainstream science is, fake bullshit.
I just find it interesting how you like cherry pick that very fringe
well,
new idea.
The reason why I use stuff that you guys would
it was
believe
only
in
a
is because you're the
suggestion.
ones I'm trying to convince. I'm not obviously trying to convince other flat earthers. Other flat earthers already know all this stuff, and unfortunately, I have yet to see an extremely compelling terrestrial experiment or anything scientific that would demonstrably put the debate to bed, which is why this debate's still going on.
Gotcha. I'm curious to hear your thoughts on what would happen in a vacuum chamber, since there's no buoyancy in a vacuum chamber. What would how would
Everything
objects
weighs the
move?
same. They'll move at the same speed no matter what weight or mass or volume that they have. They will both. If you drop a 100-pound weight, it will fall the exact same speed as a feather
Which
in a
debunks
vacuum
Right,
gravity, by the way.
but why would they go down if there's no buoyant force? Why would they go down if there's no buoyant force?
Because they still have mass. They
So,
Okay,
still
but
have mass.
I think that
why is the
Grover's.
mass attracted to
I
why,
think.
why does the mass go down? Is
Okay,
it
so
because the
Why
mass
does
we
is
don't have to
attracted to
explain
the
that.
mass of Earth?
For one, we don't have to explain that. It's just something that is attempting to explain it is, that's what we're trying to
they,
figure out. Just
but
because we don't
you
have the
see
exact
the lengths they go to.
explanation doesn't mean anything. The fact is, you guys are using a invisible space-time blanket that it cannot be touched, felt, seen,
No,
experimented
no,
with,
no.
and
You can
that
buy a
is the
vacuum.
current.
You can buy a vacuum chamber. You can buy a vacuum chamber.
No, so here's
It's literally a
okay. So
jar.
no, you're mixing the points. So let me get back to your original question. What would happen in the vacuum chamber? The things fall at the same rate. The reason why that debunks gravity and doesn't verify gravity is because the mass of the objects are completely different. If gravity is something that
Thank you.
is based off of the mass of an object, if we're talking about 100-pound weight, is going to have much more weight than the feather. It has more mass, therefore gravity is affecting it greater. It has more mass, so it should be have a greater force acted upon it. The fact that it
I
doesn't
think
proves that something
you're
else is
mixing
going
up
on.
force. You're mixing up force and acceleration. So gravity applies an
What?
acceleration to objects. Acceleration times mass is force. So the force of gravity on more massive objects is higher, but the acceleration due to gravity is the same.
That
Oh
didn't
my
make no
God.
sense.
Yeah, because you're literally multiplying it. How are you going to say? So multiply the mass of the feather by the gravitational force and tell me that it's going to give the same acceleration yield as a freaking 100-pound weight, because that don't track. That dog don't hunt.
Thank you.
Well, you say that objects fall relative to their density, but in a vacuum chamber, objects of different density fall at the same time. So
I'm not
what
even making
explains
that claim, to be completely real with you. I mean, so I try to honestly stay away from claims that I can't 100% back up. But I know that the things falling at the same rate debunks the idea that it's affected proportionate to the mass.
Thank you.
No, that doesn't debunk it at all, because
At what point would they fall at a different speed then? I mean, I'm not understanding.
Right. What does air have to do with the speed then and gravity? So air controls gravity?
I'm getting all mixed up with what you're saying. Well, you're
I'm at
saying okay. So outside of a vacuum, things go up and down because of the buoyant force. That's what you're claiming. But in a vacuum chamber, there is
weight
no
and
buoyant
density.
force, but things still go down.
Weight and density. It's all together. Buoyancy is weight density times volume. Right?
And
And the matter that you're in.
but you see, what weight is gravity is factored into weight.
But
Weight is mass times
gravity isn't okay. Only your model only works if gravity is a law. Is gravity a law?
The model doesn't work without gravity.
I asked the question. See,
You can't
nobody ever
calculate.
asks my question, answers my questions. I asked they always throw another question out or veer off the topic to stay away from what I'm asking. I'm asking you
Gravity is a law of physics
of
that
what?
governs the motion of objects, and we can predict the
Gravity
motion of
gravity has
objects and how
never
they'll move
what
based on.
scientific journal that we know of right now that made gravity a actual law? Because I've never heard that gravity was a law unless I missed it. It's some new stuff they just did this month.
Well, what
Because
you're getting
gravity has
mixed up
never
with
been a
is
law.
we don't fully understand the physics of what causes gravity, but
So why are you basing everything
observable
you
and we can use
believe
it.
in on something you don't physically understand or believe in totally? Because it's not a law. Weight is a law, mass is a law, volume is a law, buoyancy is a law. Gravity is not a law.
if gravity is not a law, then buoyancy can't be a law either, because gravity is in the equations for buoyancy.
No,
You
but
cannot
we
have
already
buoyancy.
just stated that gravity was not in the equation of buoyancy.
That's just you
Gravity is
denying
not
reality. You can
gravity.
Google it right now. You can't calculate the
You can
buoyant force
Google it.
without
I'm
gravity.
telling you, Google it right now and surprise yourself.
I have it right in
You
front of me.
Google it. So tell me what it says. What's the formula of buoyancy?
The force of buoyancy is the
No, 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 no,
density.
no. The formula. I don't
Yeah,
want
yeah,
to know
yeah,
what the force is.
yeah,
Give
yeah,
me the
yeah.
mathematical formula of buoyancy. And I'm
The
gonna tell you
force,
gravity is not gonna be in there.
the force of
It's in the
buoyancy
explanation.
equals the density of an object times the volume of the object times the gravitational acceleration, which is 9.8 meters per second squared.
Okay, what about it? It don't say nothing about volume, huh?
Yeah, volume's on there. It's volume times density times gravity.
That's not it's okay. That's what they gonna tell you. All right.
That's what they're going to
They
tell me.
told you,
You can use this equation. You
and
can
they
use
told
this
you that the
equation to
Earth
predict
is
the movement
round,
of
and they
objects.
tell you that the Earth is round. I'm telling you, buoyancy it has nothing to do with gravity. Gravity has
Okay,
nothing to
well,
do with buoyancy,
try to predict how objects are
gravity
going to move without
is an
using this equation.
intelligent.
You're going to get it wrong.
I'm telling you, unless gravity is an intelligent being which can, in different circumstances, exert and repel in different levels on different objects at different
No,
at
no,
the
no.
exact
Gravity
same
does not
time.
exert and repel. Gravity always exerts itself. All gravity is relative to the center of the Earth. All force of gravity points
But
directly to the
your
center of
your
mass of Earth.
model your model is only based to the center of the earth. What if my model doesn't have a center of the earth? That's how come. That's why we're different. You see what I'm saying? That's
Well,
why we're having
you just say it's
differences.
down, which is
I'm
arbitrary direction if there's no gravity. You just say it's down because it
down
makes
could
sense.
be up. I don't even know if we're not upside down now. We don't know. I'm just telling you that all matter has density, and in density, each density has weight. At that weight is
Well,
pressure. Hold on. At that weight is pressure. So you, as the object, if you're lighter than air, you're gonna float all the way up to the sky until your matter equals out to the buoyancy of the volume that you're in. And if you're heavy and there's no ground or flat surface for you to be on, just say if it's just air and water, and you say you're out in the middle of the ocean floating, you if you're lighter than air, you're gonna float out the water all the way up, and you're just gonna float straight up until
yeah,
you're exerted on by a force to make you go left or right, right? Or it pushes you down,
yeah.
which makes you come down until you float back up again,
Well, when you're
right?
floating up, it's not. When you're floating up, gravity is still pulling on you. It's just the net force is up.
In your theory, that's what it does.
I
In
mean, you
my
can
theory,
choose to believe
I'm
whatever reality
stating.
you want to, but
But we are in two different realities. You believe in a globe, I believe in the flat earth. I'm explaining to you how it works on how it works on a flat earth, and you are rehashing information that I've veered away from. So I'm listening to you and you're giving me your point, and I'm all your points are valid, but it's cognitive dissonance because you don't want to open your mind up to the possibility of not or of being lied to, first and foremost. Secondly, that what you've been believing is not true. You know what I'm saying? You don't even open your mind up to the possibility of that fact. And that's where we differ because I'm open to the possibility that somebody lied to me and my eyes don't lie to me unless it's too far away because that's
huh.
perspective.
I'm
You see what I'm
absolutely
saying?
skeptical of reality. I was raised a Christian, and I stopped believing that when I figured out
See,
that it was all made up. Yeah, I'm
so what
capable of
what's
changing
keeping
my mind.
what's making you double down on the lie that science is giving you?
I don't see any. I don't see
Why
any
would you
better
be the
alternative
steward?
that explains what we
See,
observe.
You gotta have all the answers. That's what it is.
you got so since you can't see with religion, you the answer to religion was atheism, right? You can choose that, right? But the opposite of being a glober is a flat Earth, which falls back to is based on your being lied to, is based on your now distrust of the government and people around you, loved ones, family members, teachers, scholars, scientists, government. You see what I'm saying? And then you have to think like, oh my, was I wrong religiously? Or what's going on? Or is there any religion? Or are we a petri dish for some giant alien space thing that's keeping us as a little snow globe on this cabinet? You know? You see how
Right.
deep that rabbit hole can go?
But
That's
you're not
why
you're
the
not
government
providing a
don't tell you the
viable
truth.
explanation to an alternative model.
I gave you I used your mathematical equations to prove my theory on the flat Earth, and I prove my theory of density and gravity. I'm
No, you
using
didn't use my equations because you just crossed out gravity. You said it doesn't exist, and then you said
exactly, exactly.
mass just pulls things down for whatever reason.
No, 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 no,
Everything
no,
just
no,
goes
no.
in this
Mass,
direction
no.
because
Listen,
that's just the way it is.
no. Mass makes the object denser than the volume that it's in, which makes it sink to the deepest part of the volume until it equalizes and becomes buoyant. You're
Right.
only falling until you're buoyant. You're only floating until you're buoyant.
Yes, that's because that's when the force of buoyancy that's pushing you up is equal to the force of gravity pushing you down.
So when something so that's the last. So you're telling me that's the last ditch effort of gravity on a floating balloon when it floats up into the sky. So gravity can't pull on it anymore, but yet and still it keeps all of the air that it's floating in from floating in space. It makes sense to me, please.
Wait, could you repeat that again? I don't think I understand.
I'm sure I could. I'm asking you that if gravity is the force you say it is,
Yeah.
the when a balloon floats all the way up until you can't see it anymore, right?
Yes.
Does gravity have a lesser hold on that balloon?
No, gravity has the same. It applies the same force to the balloon. It's just that the density of the balloon is the same as the density of the air. So there's nothing that would the force of buoyancy equals the force of gravity.
So you're going. Oh, okay. So you are believing the model that I'm speaking about, but you are imposing gravity into the equation of density. Would that be correct?
I'm multiplying density by the acceleration due to gravity.
Okay, so we're saying the same thing, but you're adding gravity to the equation. Something that's a theory and not a law. So it's like the little kid that wants to play with the cool kids
No,
and
I
it's
want to
wanna
get in there.
so
it's one of Newton's laws.
yeah, I do want to clarify
Yeah.
something. So, you already know I'm a flat earther, and I got love for you, brother. But
Uh-huh.
I do want to just clarify. There is a big difference between the theory of gravity and the law of gravity. There is a law that says that there's a downward acceleration of 9.81. It doesn't say that it's pulling things into spheres. It just says that there is a downward acceleration. It is. I'm not saying I agree or
I,
disagree. I'm
I,
just
I'm,
saying
I,
it's
I'm totally aware of that number and what they're saying, but
right.
the theory that it's based on is
Right.
just
Correct.
theory.
Correct.
Now they threw numbers to the theory to mathematically make it work.
Right. And
You
they
know what I'm
just
saying?
and you and I both know that all they did was just calculate the drop was just see the drop rate, I mean, 9.81 is just something that you observe.
The fall rate of the density of until it reached buoyancy, and they calculate that and say, hey, all right, well, we really don't want them to know the true nuances of everything, so let's throw gravity in there. We got
Whoa.
smart people over here that can work these numbers to make it work out right, and they not gonna be smart enough to really do this themselves. And the very few people that actually smart enough to do it, we'll just make them sign NDAs, and they'll never be able to tell anyone about it, so no one ever know. That's what happens with
I mean,
information.
I could tell you that we can use the massive objects in space and the gravitational constant
We
to
can use the
measure.
massive objects in Narnia to calculate the distance
Yeah,
in
that's what
Narnia
you
for.
just said. It's all vague. I mean,
See, first you got to believe in space, right?
yeah,
For me to understand your theory, I have to believe in space. I have to believe in a ball. I have to believe in gravity.
sure.
You see what I'm saying? Your
And what's the
everything you're
point
speaking
exactly?
is beliefs. You're trying to make me believe something opposed to what's the truth and what's out there. Now you don't.
Sure.
Now like they say, truth is relative, right? But an educated truth is way better than a told to truth, right?
That's true.
That's
Sure.
pretty
Yeah.
much like it's like the pastor in the congregation, right? The pastor's up there. He has the book. He's reading from the book. The people in the congregation, some people that follow along with him, say the pastors call themselves reading out the book. Most 98% of the congregation is just watching. You got 2% that's following along in the book. So maybe out of 100, maybe like 4 people really got their Bibles open following the pastor. The pastor is telling the congregation whatever what he's call himself reading out the book. But when he adds words to it, when he adds his own meaning to it, only 4 people out of the whole congregation is going to look like, hey, that's not in the book, but I bet not say nothing right now because I might get in trouble. I better not say nothing to interrupt them. I'm gonna get kicked out. I'm not gonna be a part of this society anymore. So let me I'm gonna keep the pastor secret, right? That's how this is worked out. That's how the government does. The few
Yeah.
people that sees the lies and try to expose the lies to warn the people or to educate the people, those people come up missing,
Okay. Can
right?
I
The
ask, like,
truth
what's the
bearers
point
come up
though?
missing,
Like,
and only the only because you're listening to the lies
no,
and the
no, no. But
laws of the people
that's not
who
the point I'm trying to make. What's the point of lying to everyone about this? What's the point of getting
you
millions of people
because
in on
the
this?
Vatican, it all goes back to a deeper religious stuff. The Vatican controls the world. If the Vatican holds
Okay.
the power, its power because it makes the people believe in a religion and a God, and the Pope is the second person next to God, the holiest of holy. So this
So
is
the Catholic Church made up
listen.
the globe Earth.
Yes,
I don't mean to
absolutely.
interrupt, guys,
The
but
the
that's kind of a
Catholic
good time
Church
for me to
runs
interrupt.
every single thing. Go ahead.
So the church didn't persecute scientists like Copernicus who claim that we lived in a heliocentric model. They didn't do that.
Yeah, but he was also doing other stuff and he was waking people up on different levels. I mean, you got to succumb to you got to be the spook that sits by the door, but until, you get in by saying you go along with it, and then you find out the secrets of the secrets. And then once you start telling the secrets, they get rid of you.
I mean, you can believe
Nikola
that.
Tesla,
I don't think you really
everybody
have any
that's
evidence of
ever,
that.
I don't have any evidence. You just told me he
Did we talk
died. They
about
killed him.
buoyancy? We've
Huh?
kind of gotten off topic,
Yeah, we
but
are off topic, but you asked the question, why would the government lie? The government is ran by the Vatican. The Vatican runs the world. The
Okay.
world.
But
There's
what's the
no
point? What's the
not
power.
point of
necessarily
convincing us
No,
that we
necessary.
listen,
live?
listen, 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 listen. There's no superpower. America, Russia, Ukraine, Iran, China, no superpower can mess with the power of the Vatican.
Okay, so
The
why do you think that
Vatican
the Vatican
has
controls everything? Well, what reason do you have to
because
believe
they
that?
they run the world through religion. They run the world through a fake relationship with a god.
I mean, that's lots
That's
of
why.
religions
And
lie to people.
everybody in the world is religious until they're not anymore. But you are religious. You have no choice in
Well,
religion.
I
You
would
are
say this.
born
I mean,
in
do you
whatever
not?
religion your parent
Hold
is.
on. Do you guys not believe that there's groups of powerful people that are pulling the strings on the world stage?
Certainly, but I don't see any reason why they would come up with this mass conspiracy to convince us that the shape of the Earth is different. I don't see
Well,
what
what if
the
there was an entirely
point is
different?
of
Okay.
that.
Hold on. What if there was entirely different physics that you were unaware of? What if there was an entirely different way of thinking that you didn't develop because you're taught to reject your senses? That's my personal opinion on why I think they
Absolutely.
lie.
Absolutely.
But the truth is that
Can
we
I can
really
I
don't
give
know
a
what
can I
Earth
give
is
a
saying.
crazy hypothetical real quick? Can I give a real crazy hypothetical real quick?
Shoot.
You
How
mean
would you feel?
the
Okay,
opinion?
wait a minute, who was this? Who was I just talking to? Um, I want to get it right.
You're
Okay,
talking to
how
you
would
were
you
talking to
feel?
Ives earlier.
Okay, cool. Look, how would you feel if the government came on TV right now and said, "Hey, we live in a bubble, well, under a firmament." The government saying this, right? We live under a firmament in the water. We're underwater. All of the stars are are actual giant luminescent sea life, and we were put here by a giant alien doctor that that's observing us. A whole different race of giant, super giant beings observing us, and we only told you this because we never wanted to panic you. How would you take that? What would be
I
your
would.
thought?
That's ridiculous. I'd be like, what?
No,
What?
no, 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 no. You got to take it. No, no, no. Let's not do the ridiculous. I'm saying the government. You get the warning. Me. Warning, warning, warning. And the government just tell you what's going on because they're about to do something. These beings are about to do something to us, and they got to finally tell us the truth. How would you feel when you finally hear something like that on a hypothetical level, though? I don't,
I don't
I
think I
just
would believe that. I think that sounds. I have no idea.
so even though you being told the truth, you will continue to have cognitive dissonance to not believe the truth when it's told to you.
But
Then
how do
I
I know it's the
mean,
truth, though? How do I know it's the truth?
it's
How do I
coming
know they're
from the
not
same
telling me?
government. It's coming from the same government that told you you're living on a globe.
It's not the government that says that. It's. I
Yes,
Yes,
mean,
it
it
first of
is.
all,
does.
it's.
Absolutely, it
Yes,
I
is.
it
mean, the government
is.
says it, but so do like tons of other people.
Oh,
No,
So
no,
do
no,
like
no,
whole
buddy.
industries.
It's
Literally,
the
like
government of the
think of how
world,
many
all
people.
world
Think of how many
governments.
people. How many people would have to be in on it? All of the astronomers, all of the
No,
people
you
who
don't
no.
have to
do
have you don't
meteorology.
have to have a lot of people in on it. You don't have to have a lot of people in on it. You have to have everybody that knows scared enough to lose their life.
Flat
That's
So,
all you
earthers
have to
include
do.
in
so
the ranks astronomers, sailors. They include pilots. They include people with um, college degrees. All these misconceptions, just because it's not super duper public or you're not willing to really dive in and see who is saying what. The thing is that the internet is being controlled. I mean, they don't promote everything in equal things. So they actually give the
well, why are they letting me
appearance.
talk right now?
They give the appearance that we're on the fringe of society. I mean, there's only 40 people in here. They don't really care too much. They let some of us talk, but they let the bigger channels get shut down
Right.
constantly.
I mean, they've gone through a
There's
lot
They let
more
us
trouble. They've gone through a lot more trouble faking this all than just being able to ban it off of TikTok. I mean, that's a lot
no.
easier than.
I think that they can't. I think that they can't reveal the method. And obviously, I mean, have you ever played chess
I
before in
mean,
your entire
right.
life? Do you know what happens if you reveal your method?
Why would they have to defend it when they got 5 billion globers defending it for them?
A whole bunch of indoctrinated people that will
Why
just
would
get
anybody
tooth
have
and
to
nail.
defend themselves if they got 5 million bodyguards? The little 5, 10, 20, 20,000, 50,000 little globers, I mean, flat earthers or however that many that is that's out there are not a threat. But let one flat earther reach 1 million followers and watch them disappear.
I mean, okay, I know you have trust issues with the government,
All
but
right,
that
hold on.
doesn't really change anything.
I gave
I
my
have to
life to the
read this quote
government.
for you. This
Wait,
was
hold on.
from.
Wait. I gave my life for you. For you. For
Thank you.
everybody in this room. I gave my life to the government. For
Thank you.
you. And my, you know what I'm saying? So thank you. I appreciate it. But what I'm telling you is when I was on the inside and I was deep in the inside, I had Pentagon clearance, top secret for your eyes only clearance. When I was seeing and I read when I was reading what I was reading, I was seeing what I was seeing with my own two eyes. It changed my life. And I had to go and I said, look, I can't do this. You know what I'm saying? Not, we almost died a couple of times under there. That's how and like I said, if you want a rabbit hole, there's aquatic animals down in the ocean so ginormous that they can bite the side of a submarine off.
Okay.
You see what I'm
We're
saying?
getting a little
And
So
off
these
topic
are,
again.
I
yeah,
have
yeah,
to.
yeah. I apologize,
Yeah,
but
I want to hear.
No,
I'm
you're
just saying
fine.
the realm of everything.
So
I
listen,
want to hear the new guest's
there's a
thoughts on
huge
this.
thing that, do you think that you think that they just wouldn't ever lie about it, but listen, you got to listen to this quote here. It's not quote mine. It's actually a famous quote. You can go find it yourself from George Tenet. If you don't know who he is, George Tenet was the CIA director, and he famously said, when what every person in the United States believes to be true is false, then the CIA will have completed its disinformation program.
Absolutely.
So they do have an active, at least according to this guy, an active who's a CIA director, an admitted agenda to lie to us about literally everything.
Everything,
Just
every
because
single thing.
probably just because they can, because they like screwing with us. But I don't think it matters to
No,
achieve a
it's to
motive.
keep the
That's not
power.
important
It's
to
to
the
keep
discussion.
you mindless drones. They call us useless eaters,
I mean,
right?
you're talking to me like
They
I
call
don't like I
civilians
trust the
you.
government. I don't trust the governments.
So
Just
why
blind.
so why would you say that
Do you not
they
know
wouldn't
that it
have any
wasn't the
reason to
government that
lie?
discovered this shit? I mean, it's literally NASA and the private space industries are all funded through, not completely funded, but contracted through NASA and the major space companies, which are all ran and
Sure,
financed by the
sure,
major
but I
banks
mean,
that are
we
all
knew
ran
the
by the
Earth
same
was a
people.
globe before NASA. We knew it was before America, even
That's a
before
story
America
that
was
we're
a country.
told.
They made up the history too. They made it all up. It's all fake.
You gotta pick and choose,
Yeah,
do some
history is
discernment,
fake.
man. A lot his
History is
stories
fake.
are called his story for a
History is
reason.
fake. It's his story. It's actually the story of the coward. History is the story of the coward, right?
So what
The
in the
coward makes
1950s?
himself brave. The coward makes himself brave in the story, and it's his story. So even if he didn't do anything in it, he's gonna say he's the hero of the story, or his people are the hero, or his country is the hero, or whatever. History is the story of the coward because the brave hero dies.
Okay, so like in the 1950s, they just fabricated a bunch of
What part of
stories about people.
Absolutely.
that the American people
Everything.
believe is false don't you
The
understand?
CIA, the Monarch
Okay,
program, you know what
then
I'm saying? They do a
then
lot
how
of
do
shit.
okay? Everything we know is a lie. How do you know what's true?
We don't. That's what we're trying to find
You
out.
know what? When you start believing in something other than a lie, you're closer to the truth than the lie.
100%.
That's how you know. That's how you know.
By the way,
When
that
your
quote
when
was
your when
actually
your
fact
when your
checked.
intelligence tells you something is wrong here, and you follow your intelligence, which makes you compound an opinion contrary to what you believe first, it doesn't matter if you know the absolute truth, you know what the lie is.
I mean,
Then you search for the truth. Once you step
sure,
off
sure,
the
sure.
lie, you can search for the truth,
I just
right?
think that the globe model, it literally explains, like we can predict when eclipses happen. It explains
Actually,
solstices, equinoxes,
eclipses
equinoxes.
are predicted off of Soros cycles. They're not predicted
Off
off
of
of a
what?
globe Earth. They're not predicted off of a globe Earth model. They're predicted off of 18-month patterns known as Soros cycles. There's only one person in
And
NASA
that's a whole
that
nother
predicts
that's
the
a whole nother
eclipses.
theory in itself. It's supposed to be a moon, but you never seen the moon rotate.
We've actually had
You see it
video
how
footage
rotate.
of the
You see
sun
it
and
rotate
moon
in
in
a
the sky at the
circle,
same
but
time
you've never.
and the moon being
so
eclipsed.
I mean, according to eclipses, how are there cases where the moon is between the Earth and the sun, and there's also cases
So
where
it's
the
not.
Earth is between
You were
the
told
moon and
that, but we've been
How
in a plane and we've
you're
actually seen
yes.
eclipses,
so,
and we've seen
so
that
when
the
there's a
moon is being eclipsed by something that's not the sun, and we know, or sorry,
Something
the other
else.
way.
Thank
We can
you.
see
Thank
the
you.
sun
There's
so
a
how
whole
and we
come
can
nother.
see the moon being eclipsed in the same plane with the Earth underneath, and we know that it's not the Earth's
Absolutely.
shadow because a spherical
Absolutely.
object cannot
yeah
cast a circular shadow on another sphere. This is easily
Absolutely.
demonstrated.
Absolutely.
no spheres
Absolutely.
cast circular shadows. I don't know how you get
Not on
that,
another
but
sphere. The
why is it every
spherical,
time
the
You
other
can't put
object,
you
if the
can't
other
put a
object is
circular you
sphere, they
can't
will
put a
straighten out
circular
the
shadow on
shadow.
another sphere.
every single time there's a lunar eclipse on one side of the Earth, the other side is looking at the sun, and there's no moon to be seen. And every time there's a solar eclipse,
That's not correct
That's not true.
because
is not correct.
I've seen I've seen the sun and the moon in the sky at the exact same time in the same area. Explain that.
Yeah, it's when the, the
I
the
mean,
moon's orbiting around the Earth is orbiting around the
Okay,
sun in the same
so
spot.
how come the moon wouldn't cast a shadow if it's in between?
What do you mean?
the moon does
Like
cast a shadow
sun
on the
rays,
Earth,
you
but
like
it's
sun
much
rays,
smaller than
right?
it's supposed to be.
Sun rays, right? If your moon is 93 million miles away, then the light that it casts off is a blanket light, right? It's called a field light, right? It's a field light. It's a blanket light. How so if it's a blanket light, you have to explain for one, you have to explain sun rays, and you have to explain how come when the moon passes in front of the sun as far as an eclipse, how can the sun be somewhere else up without, because there's another object working with the moon that we probably are not privy to that's giving off, you know what I'm saying,
I don't know what you're
those
saying.
quarters, because you get a quarter moon, you get a quarter moon, half moon, full
Yeah.
moon, new moon. So you're saying the earth is creating all of that on the moon?
No. The Earth isn't casting a shadow during the phases of the moon. The Earth only casts a
What
shadow on the
okay,
moon
so
when it's eclipsed.
what external force is casting the effect giving you the phases of the moon? Because
The
that cannot be explained
it can be
accurately on
explained.
a globe model.
The moon is a sphere like the Earth is, and when the sun is shining on the moon, it's only illuminating one side of the moon. So depending on where the moon is relative to you on the Earth, you see a different portion of the dark side of the moon, and you
But
see a
don't
different portion of the
Unfortunately, that
side of
whole
the moon
but
that's illuminated
presupposition
by the
don't
doesn't
sun.
work
everybody in the
because the
world,
shadow doesn't work.
The
right? I was
shadow
going to
doesn't.
ask, don't everybody in the world see the same phase of the moon?
Yeah.
So
To
how is
debunk
that
it,
possible? How is that possible if the moon is spinning around the earth and the earth is spinning around the sun and everything? It doesn't work like that. How can everybody see the exact same phase of the moon if
Because
the earth is causing the shadow on the moon? It's
the Earth is not
impossible.
causing the shadow on the moon.
no, I'm
What
talking about
force,
on the eclipses.
what object is causing the phases of the moon? No one, no
There's no
glober has
object.
ever explained it.
There's no object casting a
So,
shadow on the moon. Only
so,
half of the moon is illuminated by the sun. Half of it's perpetually dark, and half of it is perpetually lit up.
I'm
so
almost
the sun, the blanket sun. So that means does the moon tilt? What's giving it the quarter?
The quarter?
or the
I'm saying
fingernail.
what's giving
How do
it
you get
the
the fingernail
phase? Do
moon?
you feel me? Yeah, how do you get the quarter moon and the moon is spinning? You never seen the moon spin. So if the moon is spinning and
No,
it's
no.
rotating,
Yeah, the moon is spinning around the Earth. It's not spinning on an axis. The same side of the moon is always facing the sun.
so how do we get a
No, the same side of the moon is always facing the Earth, not the sun.
if the same side of the moon is always facing the earth, how is it being illuminated? The see it when you go when you add a lie on a
Everybody
lie on
wouldn't
a
see
lie
the
on a
same
lie
phase of
on
the
a
moon,
lie on
that's
a
for
lie.
sure.
So and that's impossible on a globe Earth model. It's possible. It's possible on the flat Earth model by the yin yang sign. That's possible. If you look at a yin yang
I,
sign, you can see how you can get the phases
listen,
of the moon.
it's not my fault that you cannot comprehend the geometry of a sphere orbiting another sphere and
I
No,
how
hold on,
comprehend.
buddy. If we're
I
gonna talk about this
comprehend.
stuff,
You
if
ain't
we're gonna
gotta
talk
be
about understanding
condescending.
geometry, then you need
You
to
ain't gotta
understand
be
that
condescending.
no,
a
no, 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 no.
spherical
Because
object.
I'm literally explaining how it works. You can look at diagrams, and
And
Kahuna,
I'm
I'm
saying it doesn't
explaining
work.
how it
Kahuna,
works.
literally do it yourself. Take a basketball, shine a light on it, and shine that shadow onto a soccer ball or another ball. Heck, put up one of the big workout balls. It doesn't matter. You will see that when a spherical object attempts to cast that two-dimensional shadow onto another three-dimensional sphere, it straightens out the shadow.
Straight line.
They
You get a
don't
straight line.
make a spherical circle shadow on another sphere. This is easily
Absolutely.
demonstrated. This is real terrestrial demonstratable science that anybody can do. And yet you guys have
Wait,
absolutely no explanation for that.
no. So you're holding a ball in one hand, and there's a ball in front of you, and you're shining a light. Well, what shape does the shadow make on the sphere?
A
It makes a
straight line.
straight line on the sphere.
Makes a
Straight
straight
line. A
line.
straight line.
Yep.
On the
That
second
doesn't.
sphere. On the second sphere, it's gonna make a straight line.
The only time that it will make a
You're, you
spherical
you
Going
will
shadow
going
is if you
sideways.
never.
cast it onto a two-dimensional. You can cast a two-dimensional circular shadow onto a flat wall, which is what you've seen Bill Nye do.
Right.
But you cannot cast it onto a spherical three-dimensional object and get that same shadow.
Absolutely. That's correct.
So the fact that we see a circular shadow on the moon, it can't be the Earth's shadow because it would straighten out.
But the phases of the moon aren't caused by the
I'm
Earth's
not talking
shadow.
about phases, I'm talking about eclipses. You say that eclipses are caused by the shadow of the Earth on the moon, and that's demonstrably false.
I mean, I'll have to
And
check.
I'm talking about phases because you can't
You're
the
talking,
light you can't shine the light on the earth and then the cast off of the light hit the shine the light on the moon and the cast off of
Yeah.
that hits the earth or however you can't get a curve. It's the whole model is the earth, the light is the sun, the flashlight is the sun, the first ball you holding is the earth, the moon, or no, the earth, and then the second ball is the moon. You will never get a crescent shape.
you guys have
No
bounced all
matter
over
what
the
phase.
and said so many things that are wrong. I don't really know where to start.
That's
Correct
the
you.
problem. You shouldn't think that nobody's information is wrong. You just heard
Well,
information that you wasn't privy to. So you automatically saying that it's wrong is automatically telling your mind you're not gonna even entertain it.
information is
No,
incorrect
dude, I'll
information.
try it. I'll try doing the shadows on the ball stuff because that literally makes no sense to me, and it would blow
You're
my
not
mind.
gonna believe. But you already said no matter if the truth was told to you blatantly in your face, you still wouldn't believe it.
No,
Because
but how do
you've
I?
already made up in your mind that this is your doctrine and you're not going to change the way you think and you're going to convert as many people as you want. We're not trying to convert you guys to flat earthers. We're just defending our position. We never see that's the thing about flat earthers. We never go out recruiting, right? All we do is say, hey, we think different than y'all, and y'all go, "Rah, rah, 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 rah," and we have to defend ourselves with whatever knowledge that we have or whatever facts that we have. We never call when we and then if you guys actually give us information that makes us ponder, we don't get angry and start disrespecting you guys. Oh, you globers, you flat earthers are stupid. Y'all are lame. Y'all go back, dumb. Y'all resort to violence and ignorance when your position is threatened or taken, or you're feeling like you are close to believing you've been lied to. Then
So
you
it's
get
been
cognitive dissonance.
40 minutes, and we've talked about the Vatican, moon phases, buoyancy, New World orders, all sorts of stuff. And
Uh-huh.
that's been a lot in 40 minutes.
Yeah.
So there's a lot to respond and
Can
all
you
that.
keep
There's a
up?
lot to unpack, but I wouldn't even know where to start because it's been all over the place. So
Oh,
can
Should
we
have
just
took
stay at
multiplied
the
notes.
pace
first
of
point?
accounts.
start over someplace and just kind of restart this conversation? Because honestly, it's gone nowhere for so long.
I'd like to start with you.
I've learned a hell of a lot in 40 minutes. Because just because I don't agree with what people say, I still learn and ingest it. And I weigh it against what I've been believing just in case I need to adjust.
Well,
Just
do
in
me a
case
favor.
I need to. But I'm adjustable. You're not being adjustable because you don't even remember what we talked about because it was too much for you to digest. You
I'm
just
here to
admitted
learn.
that.
So you tell me what buoyancy is. Give me
We
your
got to
best
go back to that
explanation of
again.
buoyancy. Yep. Give me your best explanation.
Of buoyancy?
They just want to try to hammer you on the
I'm not talking to
acceleration
you,
and
Liz. I'm
not
talking to
understanding
Stone.
that
Dude,
it doesn't
listen.
increase
No, this
velocity.
is what lawyers do and take you back to see if you're gonna still have the same theory and the same story that you said before. So he can try to catch me up on one technicality that I probably leave out. I've went over density maybe
I'm,
6, 7 times in this last 40 minutes. If he
I'm
hasn't
not
got
here to
it by
play.
now, he's never gonna get it.
I'm
That's
not here to
fact.
play gotcha. I'm here to get your understanding of buoyancy
Okay.
because I feel like you're really
Anything?
close.
Okay, here. Let me just layman's term. I'm gonna give it to you. I'm gonna give it to you like I'm gonna give it to my 3-year-old.
Okay.
Buoyancy is anything lighter than the object that it's in. Whenever it equalizes out and floats, that's buoyancy.
All right. Let me
So
ask you this: What is
if you're
equalizing?
heavy in the water, you're gonna sink until you're buoyant. If you're lighter than air, you're gonna float off into the sky until you are buoyant. That's buoyancy.
Okay, that is, I would say, a 3-year-old's explanation. What's
Now,
equaling out
I
there?
had to give it to you. You didn't take the college explanation not too well. So, do you understand the 3-year-old explanation? Does it make sense?
Yeah, you
You
should
don't know
probably take
nothing
it all
about
the way up
you don't
to
know
age
nothing
18 now.
about gravity to argue with me, 3-year-old. All you know is what I just told you about buoyancy. Does it make sense?
Light flow. Yes,
Does it make
understood.
sense as a 3-year-old not knowing any indoctrination of gravity? Does the theory that I just gave out, does it make sense? That's all I'm asking.
No.
It doesn't
As a
make sense.
what is
What part
equalizing?
of it doesn't make sense, 3-year-old? You're a 3-year-old
What
now.
is
So explain
equalizing?
to me as a 3-year-old what part
For
of
the
that
third
doesn't
time,
make
what is
sense.
equalizing?
Say again?
What is equalizing for the fourth time?
Equalizing is when the external pressure is equal to the internal pressure and they offset at zero and you're right where you are. How about
So
that?
you have an internal pressure and an external pressure?
Absolutely. Your body's filled with water, right?
Would you say that's a
Your
pressure
body,
gradient?
your body's 75 to 80% water. The pressure
Can I
of the
interject something for
water
a second?
is the what you asked me a question and then you everybody asked me a question and then cut me off. But it's cool, whatever. Go ahead. You don't want to hear the truth.
Would you say that's a pressure gradient?
Yeah.
Huh?
Would you say that's a pressure gradient?
What point what point are you trying to prove, man?
I'm just asking you a question.
Why are you trying to you're trying to find a technicality loophole or something that you were told because a pressure gradient is nothing but the level of pressure going either up or down.
Okay.
Can I add that I shined a light on a sphere and it casted a circular shadow on another sphere?
So you
Let's not get sidetracked.
made a crescent moon on another sphere? Take a
Let's
picture
Yeah.
not.
of it.
No,
Take a picture of it. You're
So
about to be a rich man.
I'd like to see the shadow
you're saying
of
a
the
pressure
sphere
gradient
casting
happens in
that
that
spherical
sphere.
shadow on another sphere. I would like to see that.
Take a picture of that. You're about to be a
I mean,
millionaire
it
tonight.
wasn't a straight line like you said.
No. I
Yeah.
want
I'll
you
take a
to
picture of it right
create.
now.
I want you to hold on. I want you to create a crescent moon with shining the light off one sphere until another the shadow of another sphere. Make a crescent moon, take a picture of it, you'll be a millionaire tomorrow.
I'm looking at it right
That's
now.
how.
I got an
That's
orange
how
in my
I
hand, and
know you're not going to be able to do it. Now, what you're probably going to be able to do is
looking
do a
at it.
half moon. You
I'm
can
not.
get a half moon. You can get a half moon, but I want a crescent moon. I want that motherfucker to look like a fingernail. I want to see it. I
I
want to
got
see it
crescent.
bend.
Got all of it.
All right, take a picture and put it on Google, bro. You about to be rich, man.
I don't think I'm the first person to do this, and I'm pretty sure this is
I
already
bet
on
you
Google.
can't. You can't type in Google and see it. So you gonna be the first, unless you on DuckDuckGo.
I mean,
So buoyancy.
you could tell me that I'm not seeing what I'm seeing, but
I told you take a picture of it and get rich, man. So I'm not arguing with you. I'm saying I haven't seen it. If you can make it happen, right? If you can make that happen, take a picture of it and get rich. Send me and
the
send me a
point I'm trying to
finder's
make is
fee at that.
you were trying
So
to
you
tell me
don't
I'm ignorant to
send
those
me to the
ideas and
moon.
didn't want to try what you were proposing, and I just tried it for myself, and I saw exactly what I expected to see.
So you can make the phases. Can you create the phases of the moon
Just
on that object?
no, if you're seeing it right now, just
All
activate your
right.
camera and show us.
That's all. Turn the camera on. Turn
Okay.
it around.
Yeah.
I'm not saying he's
I'm
not.
gonna
I
go
just want
back
to
in
see
my
it.
room real quick.
I just want to see it too because I haven't seen it. Is it a possibility? Yes. And guess what? I'm open to the possibility. I'm very open to the possibility. I love to be debunked
You
because
obviously
it
don't
makes
want
me
to.
smarter.
We can talk about the phases of the moon. I'll try to
No,
make
no,
it
no,
as
no, no.
simple
I
as
want to
possible.
see. I want to see it. I don't want to talk about it no more.
I'll
He
be
said
honest
he
with you.
got it.
So,
Ain't nothing else to talk about.
I'll be honest with you. I have seen the phases of the moon somewhat demonstrated, but I've never seen the eclipse thing demonstrated. So that's what I'm really interested to see.
No,
Talking
he
about a
he
very
would have to.
specific
He
eclipse.
How
would
do
have
I
to
You're
end
talking
up
about a
doing that.
Fellinellian eclipse, not just a normal eclipse. Those are two different types of eclipses, and basically it comes down to refraction. We can get into that if you want, but
Refraction.
that's a
Here we go with
completely
the
different subject
refraction.
than the
Oh,
phases of
boy.
the
Here we go
moon.
with the
So we can talk
refraction,
about the
man.
Fellinellian eclipses if you want.
Anytime somebody say refraction, they saying, "Hey, don't believe your lying eyes."
For sure.
That's what I hear
I
when
would.
that's what
So
I
I
hear
want to
when I
narrow
hear
it down
refraction.
with something even easier. I want to talk about just the simple lunar eclipses. How the one that's the shadow of the Earth on the moon. I would like to see a shadow cast from a larger sphere. I'd like to see that shadow cast a circular shadow onto a smaller sphere.
Oh, it's got to be a
Yeah.
larger sphere on smaller sphere.
I mean, obviously, the
I gotta grab some different.
Earth is 4 times bigger. At least attempt to somewhat scale it,
Right.
right?
Right. Earth is like 4 or 5 times bigger than the moon. So
Let me ask you
take
a
a
quick question.
take a basketball and shine a light on a basketball to a tennis ball and show me and then show me the all of the phases and the eclipse. And then I can
Host,
understand. I will agree with you.
where do you
I'm
feel the
looking for
moon
some.
orbits the Earth at?
I'm sorry,
What?
I
what?
think maybe that's part of your question. Where do you feel that the moon is orbiting the Earth? Like at what position on a clock? Because I feel like that might be part of your issue. Do you feel like the Earth is directly in front of the moon, or is the moon at a higher angle, a lower angle? Because it's going to answer a lot of your questions.
Within what
That's for
model?
you to make up.
In an
That's for you to make up. You got to make that. See, that's the thing. You're gonna have to make up a scenario to fit your equation. You're gonna
So
have
I
to make that
just
up.
I'm
That's not
sorry,
for us to
so
make
I
up.
would just say
host.
to
We
model it
ask the
exactly
question.
like
Here,
to do as close as you can to the actual globe model that people accept. Do a decent little distance away. Scale it as much as you like. I'm sure there's a way to do that. And take a different ball, take two different balls, whatever, one different size than the other, obviously. And like a basketball and a baseball would probably work pretty well, actually. Hold the baseball out a little bit, shine a flashlight, pretend that the flashlight is the sun, shine it directly on the basketball, and then show us what shape the shadow is on the or on the baseball. Because I'm willing to bet
so
that lunar eclipse cannot be modeled the way that you say it works.
When you picture the globe model, then you're thinking that the moon is directly opposite the Earth, which is directly opposite the sun. Is that correct?
No, it doesn't even matter where it is. Just anywhere the shadow's starting. You can let the shadow start to pass over the moon. You know, it's however you want to do it. I'm saying that it's not going to cast that circular shadow on the moon that is claimed.
And what shape do you claim it to make?
It's going to make like a almost a straight line going across the surface of the sphere.
Even though the Earth is a sphere,
correct.
You're saying it should make a straight line along.
Almost. It might have like the smallest slight little curve to it, but it's not going to be the circle that we see in lunar eclipses. That's for sure.
Okay, so if you can think about it in this way, if you picture the sun as a beach ball, and we'll just put it right here in the center, and then you can picture the Earth as a basketball, and we'll put it a little to the right of the sun, and then you can picture the moon as a tennis ball and put that immediately to the right of the Earth. You've got three objects in a line. You've got the sun, you've got the Earth, and you've got the moon. Each of them are slightly smaller in circumference. When the sun shines on the Earth, you've got the left half of that ball lit up. The right half of the ball is in darkness. That's what we would call day and night. When the moon is behind the Earth, and otherwise the night phase, which is why we see the moon, when an eclipse happens, they're lined up perfectly to where the larger Earth completely eclipses the smaller moon.
So
that's why it.
I want to
the entire.
I don't think you meant to, but I think you kind of danced around what I actually said. So I'll actually start with the original claim from the Globe Earth side, and I'll just walk it up. So the original claim from the Globe Earth side, you can quote Bill Nye on this. We know that one of the ways that we knew that the Earth was a sphere is because during a lunar eclipse, the Earth would cast a circular shadow onto the moon. And then it goes on to say that the only thing in nature that can cast a circular shadow from any direction would be a sphere. And that's how we know. So,
you can't use two oranges either.
With that being said,
I can't use oranges?
Go ahead. I'm sorry, host. Go ahead.
Oh, it looks pretty curved to me.
I said, I'm sorry, host. Go ahead.
Oh, you're fine.
No, I said, but you're using two of the same objects.
No, look, they're different sizes.
I mean, that line looks straight to me. That don't look like a lunar eclipse to me.
Crescent.
That's not a curved line on that other orange up there?
Oh, okay. I'm looking at the wrong orange. Sorry.
Looks pretty good to me.
But see, here's the thing. But you're moving. Are you going like going supposed orbit? Because you're like going up and down and forward and back, and the Earth don't supposed to do all of that, right?
What am I supposed to do exactly?
Okay, well, I can't see now. You're looking at the wall.
Now I'm just saying
you're going forward.
We got two objects. We got two objects of the same size, and it looks like it was curved. I'd like to see an object of a larger. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's still no. To do that, you need the orange and a marble or something like that. You need to get something way bigger than that, buddy.
Now you're just talking about scale. You're trying to walk yourself back. If you really
want,
don't agree with what it's showing.
You're closer. I'm just saying, at least get the dimensions closer. In order, the sun and the Earth and the moon is a basketball and a tennis ball. It's not a fist size orange and a navel orange. It's not that. That is not.
That particular experiment doesn't have to be to scale to show.
You do, yes. It has to be closer to scale to
the
get
geometry checks out.
So I think
Nah,
even the
bro.
host would disagree with you on that one,
Anybody
Phil.
could have. Anybody. That's what I'm saying, bro. Why you? If it's easier to use something big, you don't have a basketball, a ball, or any type of balls in the house, bro.
It's going to be the
Well,
same thing. I don't know what you
I'm
expect to see.
asking you. I'm
that's the
just
beauty of
asking you.
science, Phil.
Do you have a ball in the house?
I've been looking. I
That's the
was looking
beauty
through
of
my
science,
basement.
Phil. You can go and do this test yourself with
All I,
whatever ball you want.
bro, I tested it. All I'm asking you, scale matters. Do you have a bigger ball in the house? That's all I'm
No
asking.
matter what ball I have, it's not going to be the
You see,
scale
and
of the
see,
Earth or the Moon.
if see, that's what you do. Because you know you don't want to use the bigger ball because your theory will be rushed out the room. Go get a bigger ball. If you got a bigger ball, get a bigger ball. You went and got two oranges. Did nobody tell you to go get
You didn't
oranges?
like the experiment. If you don't like how he did it, go do the
Bro,
experiment. Show us
Yeah,
what
if
he
you
did.
yeah.
no
I
no
did my
no
part already. You
he's
do it. You
already
do it this
did
time.
no listen, didn't nobody ask you to go get that and do that. I'm asking you, since you already got the experiment set up, if you have a bigger ball at the house, most people have balls or something at the house, some type of bigger ball. If you have a bigger ball, can you recreate your experiment with a bigger ball? That's going to give better scale to what you're saying. That's it.
Better
That's it.
scale
That's
based on
all.
the NASA lies of how big the Earth and the Moon are.
NASA
I mean, you
lies
believe his lies
anyway.
anyway.
I don't
Why do
believe
I need to use
NASA.
NASA scale if it's made up?
How are you using flat earther defense against me?
I'm just saying your logic isn't
How? No, no,
consistent.
no, 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 no. How are you using flat earth defense against a globe question? It makes no sense to me. What team are you on?
It's rhetorical. It's not literal. It's rhetorical.
It's not. That wasn't even a rhetorical question.
You don't have to be on the team to see the end result of that experiment.
Or listen, all you have to say is no, I don't have a bigger ball at the house. That's it. And I wouldn't have
I can't
anything else
find
to
one.
say. Okay, there you go. There you go. You don't have a bigger ball. So we'll leave it alone.
I
Because
got a
if you had a
grapefruit.
bigger ball, nah, basketball.
No, I don't got a
Basketball.
basketball.
I won't walk it. I won't
The
walk it back.
Bill
I'm pretty
Nye, I
satisfied with
remember
how
I
I do it,
remember Bill
but
Nye telling
that's just me. I mean, I think we can do it. Obviously, what Silk's saying is accurate. We can do the experiment more. I'm actually trying to pull up the experiment that I seen where they showed the opposite thing happen, just so I can show you where we're coming from. But I mean, I'm not going to sit here and take it away from you. I mean, you took something that was spherical and you shined a spherical shadow on something else that was spherical, and that's really all I was asking
right, I
for.
give that.
So I
I give
definitely
him
will give
that.
that to you.
Sure. I'll look at what you got. Yeah.
I'm in the process of looking at it right now. It's on the Dearth channel. I just happened to scroll because it's not the newest video.
Oh shit, what time is it?
It's 12:05. Oh snap!
Yeah, I gotta teach in the morning. Oh, I am a school teacher too, so I wear many hats.
Lunar eclipse.
Do you
We didn't
teach
make them go
buoyancy?
through that. No, I teach art. So yeah, technically I do teach a little buoyancy when we get into different things. When I'm like
Well,
making when I'm helping them make like slime and shit like that, I teach density then.
while the host is looking that up, let me get back to buoyancy and just sort of explain what's going on, because honestly, you're so close to understanding where gravity should fit in.
You're so
But
close to understanding density. I understand gravity. See, gravity is taught to everyone. Density is only taught to the most elite.
No, we learned about
See what I'm
density
saying?
along with gravity.
No, 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 no. The truth of density is only taught to the elite.
let me ask you this: if you had a dice-sized cube of metal, call it steel and aluminum, are one of those two denser than the other?
It depends on where that element falls on the periodic table. The periodic table is the density of all matters. Everything has a specific density. That's how come it's on the periodic table. Anything lighter than air floats. Anything lighter than oxygen floats. Anything heavier than oxygen sinks.
So the answer is yes. The same size cube of steel weighs more than the same size cube of aluminum
It
because
depends.
steel
Yes,
is
it
more
depends. It
dense.
depends. Yes, a pound is a pound. You know what I'm saying? So if we're gonna equal amount to pound to exact weight, then they're gonna be the exact weight. That's just a trick. But
We
the
can't talk
chemical
about weight
element.
because
Hold
weight
on. Wait.
involves
Wait. Wait.
gravity.
The chemical element density of iron is totally different from the chemical element density of aluminum because they're not in the same square on the periodic table.
We can't
That's
talk
why
about weight
I'm
yet.
using.
We're just talking about density.
But
Are the
density
molecules?
is weight. Density is weight times mass.
That's not true.
Okay, that's the only way you can find out weight time mass time volume. That's the only way. That's the only way you can find the density of the object.
In order for you to have a weight, you need to factor in gravity, and that's why I'm trying to avoid the topic
But
of weight
gravity is a
because
theory,
gravity is a
bro. You can't
non-starter
keep.
for you.
I can prove my point without factoring in gravity. You cannot.
You can't
You
because
cannot prove
buoyancy
you
involves
cannot prove your mathematical fact without adding your gravity. But I can prove my mathematical fact without adding gravity.
Do you
All by
remember when you were insistent that buoyant force didn't include gravity and you were like, look
it
it up,
doesn't.
and then he
It
looked it up
doesn't.
and it included gravity? Do you remember that
No, it
portion of
didn't.
the
No, it
speech?
did not. No, it did not though. It didn't.
It does.
It did.
You can look
It's
it
in
up
the
yourself.
equation. If you Google
Look,
it, you'll find the same thing.
I'm telling you, just like they're telling you you're on a globe Earth, gravity is not real. Gravity is the gravity is the globe Earth to density and buoyancy. That's
But
what I'm
you can
telling you.
use the equation to predict how objects will move. That's very real. That's very real.
Let me ask you this.
Because
You got
you
an
are
object with the same mass.
timing, you're using the mathematical equation of volume time density time mass.
You're just picking and choosing
No,
what you want to use and ignoring the rest, and
Why
that's just
why why?
disingenuous.
But I'm just saying, if I can use my equation to give you the exact same answer that you have without using gravity and adding gravity to the equation, then how can I be wrong?
So I have the
So
I have that eclipse video that I found. Sorry it took me so long, but if you guys want to check that out, just let me know when you're ready.
No, it ain't like that. All I'm saying, like, yeah, I'm gonna check that out. I'm gonna go check it out now. Lunar eclipses. No, I'm just wondering. See, it's here's the thing. Gravity.
if you
Okay, are you breathing air or are you breathing water?
air,
You're breathing air. Okay. What's the chemical makeup of air?
nitrogen, oxygen,
It's O2, right?
and mostly nitrogen, but yeah, about a fifth
Okay.
oxygen.
It's a lot more oxygen. Trees give off oxygen, so it's way more oxygen than they tell you it is out here. Otherwise,
Yeah, it's all made up. Yeah.
7 billion people would not be able to breathe. We are not nitrogen. Well, I don't know. I know. No, I'm not even gonna go there. But we breathe air, right? We breathe oxygen. Water, oxygen is only the vaporous, heated up, vaporous second stage of water.
No, water is an
no,
oxygen
What?
atom with two hydrogens attached to it. It's a different chemical compound.
It is.
uh,
Hold on. If you take water and you go into if you take water and you heat the water up, you create steam, right?
Yeah,
You can breathe that steam, correct?
physically you can. It won't sustain you. You'll die of asphyxiation if you only breathe water vapor and no oxygen.
Water vapor is oxygen. What
It's not.
O2 is the byproduct of heat applied to H2O. You heat the
No,
hydrogen oxygen up and it detaches from the oxygen molecule, the two oxygen molecules. The oxygen
no,
molecules separate and you get oxygen. That's how you create it without photosynthesis, right?
that's
Trees create oxygen through photosynthesis and chlorophyll and all that other stuff. Humans create oxygen by steaming water. Have you ever seen that giant cloud maker they got over in what country is that? That's not Sweden, is it? They
it's
got this.
it's not
I think it's
oxygen that they're releasing. It's water vapor, which is different. Like there's water vapor in
what
the air
the
also,
water
but it's
vapor.
not.
That's what I'm telling you. Water vapor is oxygen. Oxygen. It's heavily oxygenated, right? Now,
No.
you do have to put a couple that like there are other chemicals that mix into it, which we have in our atmosphere. A lot of the chemicals we have in our atmosphere is man-made. You know what I'm saying? Heavily man-made byproducts of industrialization. So the air we're breathing now is not the same air that our ancestors was breathing 20,000 years ago, 100,000 years ago, however,
Can, can I
because
ask you
life
something?
was
Can
on
I ask you
Earth
something
longer than
about water
2,000
vapor?
years ago. Go ahead.
So, if you heat up water, liquid water, you think it converts to oxygen, like gas oxygen, right?
Yeah, before it cools back down and condenses back into water,
So,
which
if
is
you had
what
like
we call rain.
let's
We
say
call it rain.
you had a tube of pure oxygen and you cool it down, does it turn into water?
No, because it doesn't have it's not affected and it doesn't get a chance to get affected by a hydrogen element. Now, if you take a tube if you take a tube of pure oxygen and you pump in hydrogen, you would see everything start to condense and you will get water.
Well, they're not going to combine spontaneously.
If you have a tube of oxygen and you pump in a tube of hydrogen, they will combine with heat because you need heat and you need the cool. So if you cool it off, if you take it after you put the hydrogen and oxygen together and you cool that tube off, you will get water.
But you realize when you heat up water and you evaporate it, when it's a gas, it's still water molecules. It's still oxygen and two hydrogens attached. It's
No, it's not. The chemical makeup of fire changes all chemical makeups.
is chemistry made up too? Like are all
No,
people who are chemical engineers?
chemistry is the study of what happens after fire is applied to shit. Technically.
I like putting chocolate syrup into milk and then drinking the
Uh-huh.
after effects that it
Okay,
makes
but
it
when
taste.
you put that chocolate in the milk, that chocolate was denser than the milk and it fell all the way to the bottom of your cup until you mixed it up and created a buoyancy of mixture, and now you have chocolate milk you're drinking.
Yeah, thankfully
So
gravity took it
explain
all the
that.
way to the bottom. And
Explain that.
thankfully
Gravity.
gravity took it all to the bottom, made it
That
easy to
that
stir
wasn't
up.
that wasn't that wasn't gravity. That wasn't gravity. That was just the density of the chocolate against the viscosity and density of the milk. The milk was less denser than the chocolate, so the chocolate sank. Now, if you had a never-ending cup of milk, then it will keep falling all the way down until it becomes buoyant, and you will see one layer where the chocolate just rests on top of the milk at that depth,
So,
and it would never
do you
it
know
would
if
never
you
get to the bottom.
do you know if you weighed yourself at sea level with a very specific and a very sensitive scale, you'd weigh something along the lines of, I'm just going to say 100 pounds for the sake of argument, and then you went up to a really tall mountain and weighed yourself again, you'd weigh less than 100 pounds?
You're still using my theory that the higher you go into the medium that you are, that's your buoyancy. You're lighter higher because the air is denser. So
You're saying air is denser the higher you go up?
it's denser, but the oxygen level is lower. The air is denser. Okay, that's why balloons don't float off into your proverbial space,
You're telling
right?
me that
They only go up so
denser
high.
the higher you go up.
Who?
You're telling me that air is denser the higher you go up? Have you ever used a
Yes.
barometer?
Air is denser. Just like the sea is denser, the further you go down, air is denser
Well,
the higher you
you're
go up.
that's true. The deeper you go under the ocean, yeah,
And the
but
higher
the
you
higher you
go
go up
up,
in the
what's
atmosphere,
what's down is up and what's up is
sure.
down. The same effects that affect down affect up.
I recommend you buy a barometer and just take a road trip
I
sometime.
just hey bro, who said I haven't? Well, I'm gonna tell you
Um,
like this
what you just told
because
me said you
listen,
haven't.
you can explain it with a balloon. The balloon is only gonna go up as high as the density outside of the balloon
Let me
equaling to the density inside of the balloon.
let me explain
The
with a
pressure
balloon.
inside and the pressure outside. Once it's gonna float until those equal, and then it's gonna raise up into the air into that equalize out. That's the same
Let me
thing as a
explain
hot
it
air
with a
balloon.
balloon. In
A
fact, I'm going
weather
to
balloon,
explain it.
a weather balloon. Okay, explain a weather balloon never floating off into space.
I'm going to explain it with a balloon. It's going to be a little
You can't.
more than a third level grade, but I'm going to give it to you
Okay,
straight up. Buoyancy is an upward force. It's exerted by a fluid that opposes the weight of any immersed object in that fluid. Now, that fluid can be a
that's what
gas
I
or it
said.
can be a liquid.
That's what I said. You're
Buoyancy
explaining what I
happens,
said.
don't interrupt. Buoyancy happens because a fluid has a pressure gradient. The pressure is higher or lower depending on the type of gas that we're talking about.
That's what I said.
Because that pressure gradient happens due to gravity, you've
Oh
got a
wow, you had to
downward
throw gravity in there.
force on the balloon, pulling that balloon downward. That's
I
why,
said everything you said except for gravity.
hold on, when that pressure gradient is of a magnitude equal to the weight of the displaced fluid, that's what causes it to rise. So you constantly have two different forces working against each other.
That's what
Something
I
doesn't
said.
rise because it's lighter than air.
That's
That's
no, it
definitely the
does. It's the lightness of the air against the air. That's the air is the force. The lightness
you're
being lighter than the air is exactly you just scientifically said exactly what I just said, but you threw in the gravity to make it
no,
sound good.
I didn't. I didn't
Yeah, you did.
say because
You
it's
did.
lighter it
Everything I
floats.
just said, everything, just because I broke it down in layman's terms, the scientific term that you use is still equal to what I said.
The
But why is
immersed
there
You
object
pressure
still
didn't
has weight. So
disprove you didn't disprove anything I said except for gravity.
But how can there
the
be a
only
pressure gradient if gravity isn't being exerted on the molecules of the fluid?
Because gravity is not the factor. Gravity is a theory. Let's get to that. First of all, you gotta talk absolutes with me. Talk law to me, right? If you're gonna go to scientific theory and all that, go use law. Gravity
Do
has
you know what the
never
difference is
ever
between a
been a
scientific theory
law.
and the layman's term theory? Have you ever looked those
It's
two different versions up?
yeah, I have, but it still
Please,
don't take
please
away
do it
from the
right
fact
now.
that gravity is just a theory.
I
It
mean,
is a
Please,
thought.
please
if
look
they
it up
could make
right
everything
now.
else up, if they could make everything else up, couldn't they just say gravity was a law, not a theory?
Listen, they did say it was a law, but it was initially a theory, and it's still been a theory. Now they tell you it's a law because they can't, because it debunks every single thing you believe in. If you take gravity out of all of the equations, you could never believe in what you believe in. You cannot believe in anything they told you if you take gravity out the equation. That's why they leave it in. Gravity is the manipulator,
You can't
and
do engineering.
gravity keeps the truth hidden.
If you take gravity out, you can't do engineering properly. You need the gravity there to be able to make
Most
calculations.
most engineers don't even listen, bro. It's a theory, right? It's a theory. It's not a
So you're
fact.
completely backwards on so much, Silk, but let's just go with what you're saying. And say at the top of the mountain, I weigh more because air is denser up there, right?
Yes, the air is denser.
Okay, so because this is completely wrong, but I'm going with you.
Go ahead, because
Explain.
wait. Do you believe air is less dense high? That's what you
Oh
got.
yeah,
First, we gotta agree on that first. Is the higher you go, is the air more dense or less dense?
Less.
it is definitely less dense.
Okay, let's go with that. Okay.
So okay, so if we're going with mine, why would I weigh less at the top of that mountain than I do at the bottom? Because
First
that's
of
what
all,
would happen.
you think it's less dense. That's why you weigh less. See,
No, my density
listen. You
doesn't
did say
change.
that.
My density
Wait,
doesn't
huh?
change. That's my whole point,
You said the air is less dense.
which has nothing to do with my weight.
It has everything to do with your weight.
Then explain what I weigh.
Listen, in my model, which you asked me for, in my model, first of all, the air is more denser higher you go, right? So that's the exact same equivalent is down in the water. The higher you go, the air is more dense. It's harder to breathe, it's less oxygen that makes it more dense. So when the higher you go, your internal body pressure is technically is almost lighter than the air around you, which makes you lighter. It has nothing to do with it has nothing to do with gravity. It's all about density and buoyancy, right? That's
Your
what I'm saying.
density doesn't change.
Weight, density, and buoyancy. Your weight
Your,
doesn't change, but the pressure, the external pressure and the internal pressure of the air against your physical body changes. It
all right,
equals out,
you have
and
it
sometimes it
completely
goes
wrong.
higher.
Your weight does change. Your density doesn't.
No, listen. Your weight changes because of the external force of the denser air and the density inside your body equaling out, or your body being lighter than the air that you in. Right?
But I mean,
And
you can take a
this only works. It only works if you're on a surface. You get what I'm saying? Because if you were in the air, you would technically be heavier than the air and you would fall. Right?
But I mean, that doesn't check out because the higher you go in the atmosphere, the less dense the air is, and you can verify that. Like the other guest said, you can take a
That would
barometer to
be
the top of a mountain, and it
okay.
will be
Well,
less
that
dense.
means okay, if I subscribe to that, then that means every balloon that's released flies all the way off into space, and they're traveling outside in space until they get popped by the vacuum, right?
No,
Is that
the
what
All you
reason
have
why
to
happens?
that
do is
doesn't
take a
happen is because the
barometer.
gravity is actually real.
Who?
All you have to do is take a barometer and prove it yourself. You don't have to take my word for it. Just
I
take a
So
no,
weekend
listen.
and take a
I
barometer.
want
I'm
to
gonna
have the
change gears
opposing.
just a
You
second
believe
because I have 14, 10, probably 13% battery, so this live is gonna end very soon. I would
okay,
just like to
me too.
find a quick little even ground here. The downward acceleration doesn't matter. I know that the ball earthers like to believe that because there's a downward acceleration, that means that it pulls everything into spheres, but that's just not the case. It's not
Oh
something that's
shit.
been demonstrated. So
Today Tuesday.
regardless of if there's
I'm
that downward
tripping.
acceleration, it doesn't mean anything. Um, so I would like to kind of get off that topic,
For the
and I would
good
like
part,
to
man.
move on to the topic of, and I'd start it with a question because I legit don't know the answer, right? I heard somebody earlier say that the day and night on the globe Earth are like half and half, right? Are you guys still on board with that, or do you feel differently?
Yeah, at all
All right.
times, half of the Earth is illuminated by the sun.
Okay,
My bad, fellas. I got to get up out of here. It was
you're
nice talking to you, Trouble. Catch
absolutely.
you next
Thanks
time,
for
Yeah, good
bro.
stopping
night.
by. I appreciate it.
All right.
Till next
Been a
No
time.
problem.
pleasure.
Appreciate you having me on, man. All right.
Absolutely, anytime. So the picture behind me, since we brought that up, so do you guys both subscribe to that day and night are equal on the flat Earth? That nighttime is equal daytime?
In terms of like surface area illuminated by the sun, yes.
Okay. So I'm sure that you guys have seen this picture behind me maybe once or twice in the flat Earth circles. Have you, or is this new?
No, I've seen that. I was here earlier.
Okay, awesome.
You're talking about 99% population. Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's what the article says. But you can literally just look at the layout of what's happening here, and you can see that it's clearly not 50% lit up day and night. We actually have all the land masses just about lit up except for Australia. So I would just like to have that explained, if that's possible, on how that's possible on a global.
Well, when this scenario is occurring, the whole Pacific Ocean is on the other side of the planet. A whole half of the planet is still behind this.
The Pacific Ocean does not equate to half of it. Pull up the globe map and you'll see that doesn't check out. This is
the Pacific Ocean plus.
So this is a distorted projection of the globe, supposedly. So
yes,
what we're
it's
seeing
distorted.
Right
yeah, you're right. That's why.
Is total surface area. This black surface area is not 50%.
So I'll just encourage you to look at a globe again.
I'll pull
I
one up
know
right
you've
now.
probably heard 70% of the Earth is covered by water, right? That means well over half the Earth is covered by water. It just so happens that most of the landmass on Earth is on one side of the Earth, and that's why pictures like this are possible. 99% of the population is on one half of the Earth. That might be a little bit weird to wrap your mind around.
It sounds like bullshit,
but that's just the fact.
Let me just pull it up. Yeah, I'm looking at a globe right now, and what you're saying is not accurate at all. Yeah, so let me pull it up here. Very easy to see that this is accurate. So let me go ahead and take that off. Back here, I have a whole bunch of globes. I mean, you can pick any one of these. When you see how big Africa is.
Yeah. Again, not necessarily to scale.
On the other side of the Earth.
As you know, 70% of the Earth is water. Yes or no?
Yeah, of course. But that's not all on
That
one
means-
side of the ball. I mean, that's not how it works.
That is actually how it works if you look at it.
I'm looking at it right now.
What you're looking at is inaccurate models.
Would you care to show me an accurate one then?
I'm sure I can Google one. Give me a second.
Absolutely. Take all the time you need. And I'm just going to pull this one back up behind for reference.
All right, you're looking at the Pacific Ocean right now. That's Pacific.
Right.
That's the other side of the.
That's not.
In that picture.
I wouldn't even say that that's half, though. I mean.
This isn't half. Look at that. In that
That's the same one I was about to pull up.
That picture you got up behind you, this is what's on the other side of it right now.
I mean, when you look at it like that, it seems pretty obvious. It's just not a picture that you're used to looking at. That's why it sounds so weird.
That
most
sounds really
of the Earth's crust, most of the Earth's crust is on one side of the globe. That's just a fact. I actually live in Hawaii. I'm in the middle of that ocean, so I'm used to seeing it from that type of viewpoint. And so when it says 99% of the Earth's population was in sunlight, it's because A, most of the land is on that side of the Earth to begin with, and most of the people live on those continents. That's really all it boiled down to.
Well, I don't really have much to say about that because it definitely looked like a huge ocean. But all right. See, the thing
honestly,
is,
a lot of those types of questions are really similar. Things like buoyancy and gravity, it's easily explainable on a globe model, but people just don't take the time to fully examine what's going on, and they just get the brief talking point, and they're like, you know what, that doesn't make sense, because a lot of the time it doesn't. You have to look into it a little bit further, figure out what's going on, and that's when the light bulb clicks. But not everyone's taking the time to travel that whole distance.
The thing is, though, is that even though I will give it to you, there's certain observations that are hard to explain for a flat Earth, but there are definitely problems, big problems with the heliocentric model that do seem to just kind of get explained away without scientific demonstration. One of the things that I don't know why Silk wanted to talk so much on the gravity. The point of gravity is that the globers say that it pulls everything into spheres. Um, we don't even have to have that. You can have the downward acceleration with things like incoherent dielectric acceleration. And I gave the example of the two Gaussian plates and how it'll make things that are not metal. We're talking about like foam and dust and just regular stuff. Does create a vector when there is that charge, and there is no debate on it. It is known that there's a negative charge on the Earth and that there is a net positive charge in the sky. And the higher up you go, the higher that charge gets, which seems to lean towards that Gaussian plate model. But it's one of those things that's not really a good evidence for anybody's model. So it's much more beneficial to talk about things like um, the measurable distances that we have, long distance photography, the way things travel. Clocking distances of things is a really cool thing to do as well. I think that we can all get on board with clocking distances of things in the southern hemisphere, correct? Like that's a good way to prove it one way or the other.
For me, the southern hemisphere, the biggest proof is just the star patterns in general. The fact that you can see the crux only from the southern hemisphere and not the northern hemisphere, that's a big one.
Well, you understand though that it is a begging the question fallacy. You're assuming initially that the Earth is a ball and that that's why you're seeing it the way that you're seeing it, but it could be an optical effect. The thing that would lead more credence, definitive proof, things that multiple people can get behind from all sides of the aisle, is the terrestrial, hands-on things that you can touch and actually measure the distances to. I know it's claimed that we can measure the distance to these celestial bodies, but there's absolutely no scientific verifiable proof of that. So, if we're relying on what we can actually,
the speed that light travels.
The speed of light changes depending on the medium. So we really shouldn't use that. I know it's claimed to be constant, but then we also say it changes as it goes through different mediums. So, which is it?
We understand space to be a vacuum, though, so we can have a good estimate.
But light is traveling not always directly to us. In fact, when we're trying to look at spectroscopy, one of the major hurdles and challenges is the interference patterns that happen when the planets and stars cross each other, and we're trying to pick apart the difference between the two light sources that are appearing in our eye and our sky as one. So, forgot where I was going with it. Sorry about that. Can you refresh my memory?
You're talking about how we know the distance of things in outer space?
Oh, yeah, we don't. That's what I'm getting at. We don't know the distance of things in outer space.
We've done things like bounce lasers off the moon, radar. We can do trigonometry.
We bounced the first signal off of the moon before we ever went, which is kind of weird. But the thing is that again, you don't actually know the exact distances, and there's things that admittedly change the speeds of these signals. So, without us actually being able to go and actually like hands-on check, send a probe that people actually trust. There's really no way to know 100% for sure, especially when you introduce things like scaling invariance, when you realize that you can double the distance of the sun or half it and keep all the dimensions the same. Change the mass of the objects, because who is checking the actual mass of the objects, and you can make all the mathematics work exactly the same because it's reverse engineered. Which, mind you, I will bring up that is why your math all works. It is reverse engineered. It's no surprise to me that the mathematics can work that way. My argument would be that the math can work a different way, and that it has worked the other way for a long time.
I don't want to open that can of worms. We've been to the moon. We know exactly how far away it is, but I know you're getting ready to go, and that's just a whole nother conversation. Maybe we could have it at another time when you're live.
I'll be going.
But
Just so y'all know, I'll be going live Monday through Wednesday, 9 p.m. And I'll be just taking the rest of the time off because y'all are exhausted. No offense. It's just I got family stuff to keep up with too. But
it's like herding cats, right? It's crazy.
Yeah, I actually have 3 dogs, 3 cats, 2 kids. So it's a whole circus over at my place.
No, it's fine. Like I said, that's a whole nother thing to get into, and we don't really have time to do that. But as far as math goes, my final thought on that is math. We can forget everything we've known about math and discover it again tomorrow, and it'll still be the same math. We don't put a different spin on it depending on how we use it. It just is. And that's my opinion on it. And I feel pretty strongly on that. We've discovered it. We haven't made it up.
Yeah, I don't want to give the wrong impression. I do believe that math can represent reality. The thing is I'll kind of refer back to one of Tesla's famous quotes, and I always get accused of quote mining, but I don't really give a shit. I'm not going to say that Tesla said it was a flat Earth or round Earth or anything like that, because I know that quote was made up. But one quote that wasn't made up was when he was accusing the scientists of his day back in like the 1900s of creating model after model, equation after equation built upon themselves. Instead of doing like science tells you to do, which is if it doesn't match experiment, to shuck it and try again, with a different hypothesis. Instead of doing that, what they did was they added mathematics and basically corrective mathematics to make sure that everything would still work and they could keep certain presuppositions like the sphericity of Earth and the idea that we're not the center of the universe. So I can give you an easy way to think about it is I can give you a mathematical equation I can give you the complete diameter, all the numbers for the roller coaster in my theme park. I can give you the amount of people that come through average day, the revenue. I can tell you the way that the coaster works, the G-forces, all that stuff. But the thing is that math doesn't mean that coaster is reality. The math still has to be demonstrated to be demonstrably true. And that's why the scientific method is laid out so carefully, why it tells us to isolate variables and repeat the experiment. And then even after that, submit it for peer review, which what we have nowadays, I don't agree is the peer review that they were talking about. Because right now it's just like a bunch of turds sitting around a room asking each other if they stink. And that's just not a very good way to do it.
Fair enough. I'll leave it at that. Thank you for inviting me. I appreciate the live. Congratulations on keeping it civil. It was a good environment.
Absolutely. I appreciate you having a good time in it. That's one of the things that I strive to do here is make sure that we can reach across the aisle and avoid echo chambers.
All right. Take it easy, guys.
You as well.
Yeah, good night.
Do you have any? Oh, everybody
Popped off. That's all good. I appreciate everybody coming on. My phone's about to die. This will actually be the first time I'll be able to tell you guys. See you next time. Shameless quick plug. Go to truthsmacks.com. Get yourself a bag of Truth Smacks. It's excellent trail mix. It's organic. It's healthy for you. I feel great eating it. And go to their resources page so you can see all the conspiracies and all the interesting facts and quotes that go on there, regardless of what side of the aisle you're on. If you like to look at stuff like that, go to truthsmacks.com, go to their resources page, and check it out. My name is Skylar. This is Troubling Tribune. I appreciate everybody coming on. I'll see you next time.